The church today is infected with the influences of the charismatic movement.
God told me who I would marry.
When God spoke to me, I heard it so clear.
As clear as I'm talking to you now, the Lord spoke to my heart.
God spoke to us audibly.
I hear the audible voice from God.
The word that the Lord gave me.
He told me that everything I was feeling in my spirit was correct.
I know that this is what the Holy Spirit has spoken to me.
That's the word God spoke to me.
Charismatic theology has affected so much of our theology in ways that we don't often recognize.
Man, I tried for years to speak in tongues.
Don't speak in English, don't think English.
Yes, the mind says it's weird, but the Spirit says, hello, this is awesome.
Fake miracles, false tongues, and non-authoritative prophecy.
A prophet is one who has God's words put in his mouth.
If you are not earnestly desiring spiritual gifts, especially prophecy, you are sinning.
They don't have a single prophet who has been 100% accurate.
What does the New Testament say prophecy is? What does the New Testament say tongues are? What does the New Testament say the gifts of healing are? Let's compare them to the contemporary charismatic Pentecostal movement, and what you find out is the two don't match.
It teaches people to look away from the Bible to some experience.
Deep down, charismatics are riddled with doubts about what they believe.
Is God's word sufficient? Is God's word enough?
Dreams, visions, those sort of things inspired me to love Jesus, to obey him more.
Join us in October of 2024 for the Cessationist Conference. The church must once again stand with a renewed confidence in God's sufficient word. We hope to see you there.
Welcome to the Standard of Truth podcast, where we discuss all things social, cultural, political, and theological from a biblical perspective. Happy Monday, you guys. Listen, I have a whole crew of people waiting in the green room, and I can't see any of them. I have no idea what's going on. And I have this really bad feeling that I may have to restart this live stream. So let me try something. I'm going to try to turn that off, and then I'm going to try to turn it back on. There goes my people. My people are here, you guys. You see on the thumbnail that we're going to have Kevin Briggins from the Off Code podcast. We're supposed to have Rick Caldwell of Caldwell Apologetics, Dear Woke Christian, and then the surprise secret sauce to top it all off. My girl, Monique Duson, is also in the house. So you guys, I'm just going to go ahead and add everybody in because I'm super excited. And I didn't realize that it was something going on my end. I was accusing them of being on CP time. Can you believe that? The typical Black trope. I applied it to my brothers and sisters in the Lord. So let's go ahead and get everybody. First, let me get everybody assigned here. Number 2, number 3, number 4, and let's see.
Grace and peace, everybody.
Jason
I can't hear.
Here. Let's see.
Yo.
We got Kevin, and we have the beautiful Monique.
Hi. We get the whole. Wow. This is a cadre group of folk.
Everybody is here. Hi, you guys.
We're good. We're deep tonight.
We're rolling deep.
We're good.
Listen,
we did last here.
I normally don't let this as many people come on the Standard Truth podcast at one time because y'all know I get overwhelmed because I'm old and uncoordinated. So
come on. Let it go.
we're gonna work this out and do the best that we can. Let me first just say hello to everybody in the live chat because I didn't even get to acknowledge them because I was wilding out over the fact that I could not see you guys. So, hey everybody, you can hear Jason and Kevin. You can hear us just fine. We love you too, Sister Addie. We love all of you guys. We really do. Yes, Mo is here. And I wasn't sure if she was going to be here, so I did not put her on the thumbnail. So, Mo, I will revise this thumbnail to make sure that we get you on there with the quickness, okay?
Girl, it's all good. But I am trying to understand how you thought we was all showing up on CP.
I have the text to prove it because it was like 7:50 something. I was like, I know y'all not on CP time. Jason had an excuse. He was the only one that I expected to be late, but I did accuse y'all of being late. So I repent publicly and I apologize.
Let the Lord use you. Come on now.
Come on.
Shundo.
Hey,
Amen.
Hey, April. Everybody in the chat is saying your mic needs to be turned up.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just sent
I'm pretty
you a
loud.
private message saying that.
Or turn us
is
down.
that better? I mean, I can turn it up some more if I need to. It's up. I don't want to start clipping, but if I start clipping, I still need to be louder? No? Yes? Y'all say something.
Oh, we waiting on the chat. You sound fine to us.
Right. Okay. Turn it up, April. It's up. Y'all need me to turn it up some more?
Okay. Somebody just said it's better. It says better.
Okay. All right. So, to the listening audience, you guys, we planned this at the last minute. This is actually Kevin's idea. And Kevin wanted to collaborate and get all of us on a live stream together. And we were trying to figure out what we were going to talk about. And was it your idea, Kevin, to talk about what's going on with Candace Owens? I'm trying to remember.
No, I think it was Jason. I think Jason threw that out there first. Yep, he taking credit. Yeah.
Take credit for it, yeah. When Kevin came on my show the other day and said we need to do a big a 9-person live stream. And I said I want to talk about Candace. I want to talk about Candace. Because I think so I will absolutely take responsibility for that. If you have a problem, question, or concern, dearwokesy@gmail.com. We don't care.
Okay, so everybody is saying that everybody is louder than me. I mean, I'm used to everybody being taller than me, but louder, that's a first.
Yeah, you actually sound louder than everyone else on this end.
Thank you. I agree. Okay. Well, so since we decided there's so many different aspects of what's been going on with Candace that I want to touch base on, we could start talking about, why she's in the news right now. But I kind of, before we even get to that part, I want to ask each of you your opinion as it relates to Candace Owens, the conservative media personality, and her relationship with the community. Like, we'll call it the community, because there is this prevailing sentiment within the community that Mrs. Owens Farmer, that's how I prefer to refer to her that way, but the media personality is Candace Owens. It's been said that, she's not legitimate, right? She should not be allowed to speak on Black issues because, she's not connected to the community. So I just want to go around and get each of you guys' perspective on that sentiment, because I have issues with that sentiment, but I am curious to know what you guys think and feel about that.
All right, I'll start off.
Okay.
Yeah, look, if there's awkward silence, I'm gonna feel it. I'm just gonna put it out there. But with Candace, every Black conservative gets labeled that, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you are a Black conservative, the trope is you don't represent the community. All skin folk and kin folk, as they like to say, right?
Mm-hmm.
Candace, I do think there is a certain element about her that for a long time, it seemed as if she was trying to um, do every, it's almost like she was saying things for hot takes a lot of times that was unnecessarily critical of, let's say, the black community. And I think a lot of times that turned her off, even when there was things that I agreed with in the past. I'm talking about, I'm about early Candace, right?
Right.
Early Candace, there was things she would say I'd be right on, but I was like, I can't share it because the way you just said it, nobody's going to accept it, right? And so I think a lot of the bridges she burned early on, I think more recent years, Candace is way more toned down, way more thoughtful in what she says and how she says it. But I think a lot of the narrative about her is from how she first started off when she first came on the scene. So
Okay, I'm gonna chime in. I actually like early Candace. I know, I do. You know why? Because it was so fresh and it was so fearless and it was so, listen, this is what it is. And if I don't say it this way, I will not be able to get your attention anyway. So I'm just going to go ahead and say it because I've got nothing to lose. I also think early Candace was a lot younger, a little bit more immature, but I still liked early Candace and I like her evolution from, freshly off the Democratic plantation, not really knowing, is she a Christian? Does she believe in God? And like, I still don't, from a faith perspective, I don't even know where she is, but I like 2017 Candace because no one that young ever said the things that she said and then said it out loud with such conviction to where it was just pissing everybody off. And I think I like that for me because I'm not one of those sensitive people that be like, okay, I know what you said was true, but could you have said it different? I'm just
Yeah.
like, tell me the truth. If you love me, tell me the truth. I'll deal with how it made me feel later, but at least I know. What about you, Jason?
Oh, I'm new to Candace, so young Candace, I'm not that familiar with.
Okay.
I know a lot more about her, like, starting in 2020. So I know a lot of things she said in 2020 got a lot of people's feathers ruffled, and I can kind of agree with that. But I'm also willing to say, you know what? I don't have to say, well, you said something that I really didn't like, therefore you're finished in every other category and box. That's the silliness. I just like, and I've told you this before, I feel like Candace uses an economy of words that many Black people would really benefit from paying attention to. She just says what it is, and she's not going to spend 95 words to say it. So she's just going to say exactly what it is, and okay, fine. We can fight through it, but it won't be said that she didn't tell you what it was. I think that's, in my opinion, that is extremely admirable and something that we as Black people need to embrace because we don't need anybody to sugarcoat and lie to us anymore. We need some people to just tell us the truth. This is what is reality. And and when I brought this to Kevin's attention, I shared with him a couple videos. I'm like, yo, like, how are we ignoring this reality? And I understand Candace is doing been really getting involved in what would be traditionally the Black community media, Black media, and she's giving them that work. She gave the Breakfast Club all the work. She gave Joe Budden a whole bunch of work. When she gets on with Umar Johnson, that's a pay-per-view I'm gonna pay for. I don't even care how much it is. I'm paying for that pay-per-view because it's gonna be insane. So the fact that she doesn't, but see, that's the thing. Like, she has no problem going into enemy territory and just having a dialogue and discussion. Now miss me with the fact that the Breakfast Club gave her softball questions. That was their fault. That ain't Candace's fault. That's their fault. Y'all came in there asking her to recite the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. That's your fault. Don't blame Candace because she actually knew the lyrics. How about you ask her real questions? So I'm interested in seeing where this goes, and I really hope, if nothing else, from this dialogue and this discussion, more people realize we can be very clear and concise with our own folk and just tell us what it is and keep it moving. And you don't have to, you can still come to the cookout because that's something else I want to talk about, like how we feel like we can ostracize one, or we don't ostracize another. We can say Candace can't come, but we can accept Umar. Why? For why? Why do you accept Ibram X. Kendi and his fake name, but you can't accept Candace and her white husband? I'm sorry, help me understand this. So I'm here for it. YourWokeC@gmail.com.
I'm here for it too. Let me let Sister Monique go ahead and chime in.
Man, I did not like Candace in the beginning. So you got to remember, like 2017, 2018, I'm moving home from Africa, and my friends were like, Candace Owens is the biggest enemy. Like, she target number one. Like, we see her dead on the street, like just walk over her body. Like, she like, we don't like Candace. And so then I started to listen to her. And as I'm coming away from like critical race theory and stuff like that, there were things that she said that I actually agreed with. But I'm like, how do I get my friends to listen to her? Her tone was so condescending. It was so just like, to me, she would talk to you like you were just stupid, like you just on the plantation. And while that may be true, I'm not saying it's not true. It's the presentation that I'm hoping, like, because yes, we want to deliver truth with grace. It's not either or. And so if we want to deliver that truth and grace, like, how are we delivering the grace part too, so I can win a conversation with somebody to help them see like, man, you really stuck over here in a mindset that is going to like really just be the destruction of your community and your people. And so I couldn't share her stuff because it was so volatile. It caused so many more issues than like just being able to have like a little bit of conversation. Because at least my friends, they already hated her. And so everything that she said, it was just so like, they just emotional. No, I'm like, yeah, we our community, we are people of emotion.
But is that good? Like, is that good?
Huh?
How is us being this community full of emotion, how has that benefited us?
I'm not saying that it has benefited us. What I'm saying is that I think her approach and her presentation in the beginning wasn't helpful to be able to say, hey, look, like we're a community of emotional people, like, and the Democratic Party understands how to poke our bears and then get us all riled up. So for me with Candace, it was a struggle to share her stuff because she was coming in like, y'all just some emotional, blah, 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 weak-minded. And my friends are like,
they were like, yeah.
I mean,
I'm not in disagreement. Like I said, there were a lot of things that Candace said that I could agree with. I just couldn't share it because I actually she's not having conversations with real people. And so that was the difference. Is she could get on her platform and be like, blah, here it is. But in real life, I gotta go and talk to you. I gotta go and talk to this person. And now, like, I don't want to be the clean. Who's that woman who sang the cleanup woman? Like, you know that song? I don't want to be the cleanup woman. I would rather have a real conversation with you to actually help you see some of the errors, especially of the Democratic Party and what you're being sold and how you are living on a plantation. I think what she did in the early days, like I said, even though I agreed with her, it just created more mess than what was needed because we are emotional and because we are driven and we don't want people just coming in like you ain't even at the cookout. So how you gonna tell me? And da 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 da. Like it got ugly. I do agree. I think that she's changed her heart position a little bit. I don't know where she stands as far as, salvation and Christianity and, all that. I think her husband is a devout Catholic, but I don't know what that means for her in her walk with the Lord. But I like one of the things that I want to bring up, just like early on is I know that there are a lot of Black people who don't rock with Candace, but what I'm seeing recently is more and more people like opening doors and they're trying to listen. And so I'm like, okay, Black people, I see you trying to give an ear.
Right. All right, we're gonna let Rick chime in, but I'm kind of, I hear y'all, but and this is me coming from somebody who used to be a liberal. I know what the Lord did to draw me to Himself, and my back wasn't rubbed into the kingdom. So it could just be me. I'm not one of those rub me on the back into, whatever your side is. I'm one of those, you got to drag me. And so when I first heard Candace, I was like, she dragging me, dang, but I'm coming, sis, I'm coming. That's how it was for me. What about you, Rick?
Yeah, I think herein lies the challenge. I appreciate the sentiment of a lot of individuals that have gone before me, but here lies the challenge. I think with Candace Owens, I'm going to talk about early Candace Owens because there was a lot that was said about early Candace Owens. The challenge is you had generations of lies and what I call rubble removal. And so in order to remove the rubble, you need heavy equipment. You can't show up with small little hand tools. You need bulldozers. You need powerful equipment in order to do the job. So I think the challenge, the balancing act, I think right out the gate for Candace Owens is that she couldn't soft sell the message. The reason why I used this word in my live stream the other day, this word inculcate. The Black community, by and large, had been inculcated with a litany of lies. So many lies to the point that things become seemingly axiomatic. That is, it's almost like arguing that water is not wet. I mean, you can't argue against certain things. And so I think the strength that she came, or the veracity of her argumentation, right, was designed to kind of knock over this huge power structure, right, of lies that a lot of people, I mean, people in our own families, people that we know, people that we love, we care for, have embraced for so long. And so the challenge is you can't come to that situation, given the gravity of the situation, with milquetoast approach. But the challenge is, because of what was mentioned about the sensitivity that some people have, people are going to be in their feelings. People are going to feel some kind of way about it. But it's almost like strong medicine that you need. Yes, at the initial hit may feel bad. But I think what we're seeing, I think what I hear from a lot of you, and I kind of share the same sentiment, is that after you get over that hurdle, that major hurdle that needs to happen, then people can start to come to light, start to see, hey, I didn't like this woman because she seemed very abrasive. She seemed very condescending. And let's just phrase it. A lot of that was people didn't like their ideas challenged. People didn't like the narrative challenged.
Say
right?
that again.
And so they, instead of dealing with the ideas and the merit of the idea, they dealt with the person, the character of the person, the tone of the person, or the disposition of the person. What about the merit of the ideas? That was the challenge. And it's always a challenge, right? That I think that was a challenge. But also think about Candace Owens, the person, media person, which was part of the question you asked, April, is that you have to be savvy in how you communicate your message. If I just kind of whisper to people and say, hey, they're selling you lies, no one is going to hear what you're saying. So you're going to have to come up with a novel, creative approach in order to get your point across. And it may feel like someone's got a bullhorn in your face, but it's designed in order to draw attention to the issues. That's the point. Now, once you're looking at this person, yeah, you're thinking all of these negative feelings, these negative thoughts about this person. But guess what you're doing? You're looking at the person. The person now has your attention. And now that they have your attention, perhaps the salient issues can actually be addressed once and for all. And I think this settling period that people kind of brought up is what we're experiencing, is that we have a segment within the Black community specifically that are starting to actually now give an ear to maybe some of the commentary, the needed commentary that she's been providing. In regards to the issue with the Christian faith, I think that's kind of an open question. I was even watching something where she was speaking at the convocation at Liberty University about 4 or 5 years ago. And she brought up the influence of her grandfather and people like that, and how Scripture was important. We know her husband is a devout Roman Catholic. And so the thing is, it's still an open question, right? I mean, I saw some people in the comment section say, I believe she's a Christian. I definitely believe that a lot of the things that she promotes, those with a Christian worldview, it's definitely in alignment, right? So that I can at least say that much about Candace Owens. So that's all I have to share for now.
Got you. Yeah, so I've liked what everyone has said and contributed. So it sounds like we have a mixed bag here on the show. We have some people that were like, I mean, it's not like what she was saying was wrong. I just didn't like the way she came at me. Whereas others were like, the messaging was great. And I think it was a novel way for her to introduce these new ideas into the marketplace of ideas to make people think and to get their attention. What I will say about that is we have to deal with the fact that what Candace was saying wasn't necessarily novel. We had already had people who came before her who came with the nice approach. I mean, Thomas Sowell's been around for a very long time, and his ideas are codified in lots of books. But no one really, if you ask the average Black American in this country, are they familiar with Thomas Sowell or any of his work? They'd be like, Thomas, who he played for? What team he played for? Like, they don't even know. So we've had people come along and say, you know, we've been sold a bill of goods. There's lots of lies. We're at the bottom of the economy, where our families are not together. But it was something about having a young person like a Candace Owens say it. It got all of our attention, and it made us all respond in different ways. So I think that was a good rally for all of us to get our thoughts out about Candace Owens. And what I want to talk about now is this other elephant in the room, where a person has to have certain credentials in order to speak to certain issues. Now, for me as a Christian, it's incompatible for me to hold such a worldview like that and say, well, you can't say, because you know that it's not your lived experience. If we all believe that truth is objective, if a person says something that is objectively true, why do we feel the need that they have to have certain qualifications? Like, you got to have a Black husband, or if you're a Black man, you cannot be married to a white woman, or it's like your credibility is just shot. Like, why are we placing such a high emphasis on these intrinsic things that have no eternal value, that give no indication to our dignity and our worth as human beings? But for some reason in our community, you got to have everything in the right alignment in order for them to listen. Like today, someone said, I talk as if my husband was white. And I was like, well, and if he was, what you gonna do about it? Like, so next thing they gonna be trying to question is whether I'm really from the Bronx, right? Or if I really played on pissy mattresses growing up. Like, I don't know. But our brother Virgil is also here, and I'm gonna go ahead and add him. I'm going to assign him as guest number 5. Hey, bro.
What's going on, family?
It's getting crowded back up in here.
I love it. I love it.
I love it. What do y'all think about what I just said, though, about the credentials that are necessary to speak to these issues? Is there any validity to that at all? Or does someone here want to put an end to that and perhaps bring in a biblical perspective?
I'll do it. I bring it up all the time.
Go ahead,
I'm a
homie.
Black man. I'm married to a Black woman. I got Black babies. I went to a Black college and university. Miss me with all the dumb stuff. So the credentialing is just a phony way of putting another barrier that we don't have to listen to the logical statements that you're making. So because you're saying something clear, I was always known as Belinda's proper child, even as a little boy, because I would always speak fairly clearly. So that was something I grew up with as a wee little lad. And rather than deal with the fact that, you know what, why do we speak like this? Jason don't speak like this. Why do we do that? It's, oh no, we're gonna shame you, Jason, or we're gonna shame you and say you sound like your husband's black or white. How ignorant is that? But let's even address that. So what? If Candace's husband is white, does that change the fact that too many of our babies are born without a dad in the home? Does that change anything? Does that change the reality that so many? I did an air horn? Come on.
I've always wanted to do that.
Does that change? Did you do that? Oh.
That's April. Our first official sound effect,
President,
I think.
Chief Executive Secondborn is producing the show for me tonight. Does the fact that Candace went to a predominantly white college university, does that change the reality that in New York City, they have black and brown people have passed the point of replacement? So now
Y'all know what I'm doing. What happened to Jason? Where'd he go?
She's an ECAM
That's so
newbie.
messed up.
Virgil, you
That
gotta
is
forgive her.
messed
She's an ECAM newbie.
How you gonna do Uncle Virgil like
this
this?
is an amateur show for sure.
Trying to
She's
get
an
all of us
ECAM
on
There we go.
here.
Everybody's coming back. What in the world?
Who's missing? Okay,
Everybody's
everybody's
here.
on.
I know him drinking.
Okay.
Let the man finish drinking. Let the man. So does that change anything? Like what does Candace's husband's skin texture or skin complexion have to do with the realities that she's speaking to, or anything else? It's just and I always ask him, I'm like, well, I mean, I say Martin Luther King was not a Christian, and I went to the college that has a chapel named after him. Catch me outside.
And a
like, what
statue.
are we doing? So these phony, false barriers that we want to put up, it only it causes us to feel secure in our lives. It helps us feel warm and fuzzy in deception when we could be dealing with the issues at hand. Like I was just saying, like in New York City, black and brown people are past the place of replacement. They don't have enough kids being born in order to replace the black and brown adults that are currently living. What's that got to do with anything? That should be issue number one. But no, you want me to be worried about whether or not Candace knows the lyrics to Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Y'all are some whole dummies. That was y'all fault. The Breakfast Club is a bunch of dummies. Charlemagne the false god, DJ, you envying too much. Jess, you ain't never been funny. You are a bunch of dummies. Jason, dearwokec@gmail.com.
Jason, how
Catch
you
me
really
outside.
feel, man?
I have no problem with it.
Who's this guy? Where have you
I'm
been
telling
all this
you know what?
time?
My daughter's like, what the deal is my dad dealing with? But
Who is this Jason?
This is you know what? This is 50-year-old Jason. My birthday's coming up in 2 weeks. I think at this point, I think I've crossed the bridge. I don't even care no more.
Something does happen when they turn 50.
I don't care no more.
Something does happen when y'all turn 50. Like Robert has not been the same since he turned 50.
Shots are gonna be fired.
Once they turn 50, I'll be like, I'm scared of you. I ain't messing with y'all.
Baby, don't worry, you safe.
Virgil, did you want to go ahead?
No, I've been enjoying what y'all are doing. Like you didn't have to add me in. I appreciate the add on. I just simply wanted to say, hey, y'all look beautiful. I mean, y'all look, the fellas, y'all are bringing it, y'all got your stuff together. Y'all doing big things. And I was happy just sitting in the cut watching. And then April, you sent me the link. And so I felt kind of obligated to jump on and just try to add 2 cents. But because of kind of some of the spaces that I'm in, I think when the whole thing with Candace went down with Daily Wire, I was pinging our folks at the Blaze like, hey, are y'all gonna pick up, the mantle? What are y'all doing? And by the time I sent the text, they were like, that ship's sailed. She's got her own plans. I anticipate her doing a Tucker move or something along those lines on X and working out some bigger things. And so just kind of watching her trajectory and I had watched, it's funny, I had watched the interview that she did with with the rabbi. And she wrecked house on him. I mean, just tore him to shreds. And then watching the backlash of that, I knew something was coming. I did not know what. Every time I watched Daily Wire, they did one of their backstage deals. I was always watching the room, and Candace was kind of in the cut. She was quiet. I was watching her interactions with Ben. I was watching her interactions with other folks, and I'm thinking something's brewing, man. There was some warning. All that to say, there were some warning signs of what was coming, and then when it did, it was not surprising, definitely disappointing. But yeah, there's a lot of things that are kind of moving behind the scenes to kind of see where she lands, who's going to pay what to get her. For all these folks saying, "Oh, she got fired," well, that's good for her, and the head waggers and all of that. I'm telling you, she will land on her feet. She already has, and it'll be bigger things in the days to come for her. But I enjoy what you guys are sharing as far as the commentary. I think each one of you had kind of your own take on it. I do agree. She was bombastic, but I kind of like that. I kind of like the in your face stuff. That's kind of how I get down. I try to be very cordial in my interactions with people, but I prefer, if you're gonna come at me, come straight at me, and bring it strong, and let's make it work. And so she's done that. She's had a tremendous impact, I think, in the Black community, and I think this year, going into the election cycle, you're going to see more Blacks coming out for Republican candidates, and particularly Trump, than any other time. I think the Democratic Party is going to be shocked by what they see with this upcoming election. I think Blacks are tired of the immigration issue, illegal immigration issue, and they're standing firm on that. I have been, just so you guys know, on my weekends, I've been hanging out in some of these reparationists circles, and listening to their arguments and their lines of thinking, and where they stand on certain things. It's absolutely fascinating. A lot of there's still a big section or demographic of our thinking process that is still antiquated and old, and still steeped in this idea that we are owed something. But most of those who are forward thinking are looking to different answers, different solutions, and more Republicans are actually jumping into those spaces and saying, "Here's what we need to do, and here's why." So I just think it'll be interesting to see what happens. But listen, I love y'all. I appreciate the opportunity. I can sit back in the cut, and unless y'all have questions for me, and watch and enjoy you guys. It's great to see your faces. It's great to see y'all's collaboration on this platform. Y'all already know, if I can ever do anything to be a help or a resource, I'm here. Just hit me up.
We got you, homie. Thank you. Are you leaving?
Well, I'll hang out if you got something for me. I'll hang out for a little bit.
Just a little bit. We might need you to referee something. I don't know. Who wanted to go? I mean, what we were talking about, does it matter who she's married to? Like, does a person need to have some sort of credibility qualification in order to speak to these issues? And if so, what does that need to be? I think, Monique, you were going to go ahead.
I do want to go, because what's really being talked about is this idea called standpoint epistemology. My ministry partner is doing a bunch of work on it right now, but it's the idea that your social location, where you are in life, gives you specific knowledge, but this knowledge comes across as objectively true. So there are things that I know objectively true that you cannot know if you do not sit in my social location, like as a Black woman. And so when we think about people like Candace Owens, yes, I can call her a sellout, and yes, I can throw her under the bus, because she's not in that social location of the person who is in South Central Los Angeles, who has this way of thinking. And it's in our churches. Like, we don't even know it, but many of our pastors spout this stuff to us of like, well, as Black people, we need to, or as a Black person, when I read the scripture, this is now true. You can see it with James Cone and Black liberation theology. And I want to say it was in God of the Oppressed, when he said, it was more of the idea of like, can white people be saved? Or but he specifically says, for any white person to be accepted by the community, they must be accepted by every Black person. They have to meet all of these other ideas and qualifications. They have to be standing with us in our area or social location. And we're the only ones who are going to know whether or not that person is good and correct in their standing. And so, yes, when people look at Candace, they say, well, she's not in the right location. what we're seeing is not just people coming out with a rogue idea of like, well, you know, these are the Black people that we like and these are the Black people that we don't like. What we're seeing is a full orbed ideology coming right before us and playing out in real time. I would challenge you guys, look up standpoint epistemology. What is standpoint epistemology? And how is it coming into our churches and making an inroads, especially in the Black church? Now, it's been in the white churches too, but it's been in Black churches, and it's coming in with people like James Cone. We participate in Conean philosophy all the time in the Black church and in Black circles, even outside of the church, and we have no idea that we're playing with them.
Listen, that's a mess if I've ever heard it. That is crazy to me, but you're right. I have heard Black preachers say things like that, and it just makes me, tilt your head and squint, because I'm just like, am I talking to a pastor, or are you a social justice warrior? Like, who are you? Like, what scriptures do you read that you even speak in these kinds of categories? But to me, it speaks more to this concept that I've been talking about a lot on my channel, and it's the Black breeding of the American Negro. Like, the American Negro is different. They not like this. This is something else. It's really where that ethnic narcissism takes over in such a way that it impacts every aspect of how you view the world, from faith to your employment relationships to who you're going to marry to how you spend your money. I mean, it is literally a behavioral noose. That's what I call it, a behavioral noose that you put around your neck, and it's you constantly swinging to and fro, and it's like, how do you live a life free in Christ with all of this other baggage on top? And so that's why I've made it my personal mission to I disavow all of this colorism stuff. I'm so done with it, because when I listen, I was there when Virgil preached at Rockdale Community Church several months ago, when he exegeted Ephesians 2:11 through 22. Like, I'm in this church, super conservative, and I was ready to run up and down the aisles, because I was like, yes, that is what Christ did for us on the cross. With the hostility is gone. Why is it that other believers don't see that and feel that conviction to say, man, this skin, it's all right, in the summertime it does me well, but it's okay. It ain't that serious, but who else wants to chime in?
Yeah, let me
Well,
go
can I
ahead.
say this real quick? Can I say it's not about pastor or social justice warrior, it's pastor or puppet. And many of our pastors are puppets, and they're puppets for the culture. And so when you think about you either got to be a pastor or you got to be a puppet, but they're going to sell you your color back. I heard an Easter message when I was driving to church yesterday, and this message was on Sandra Bland and Trayvon Martin. They're puppets. And so, yes, they can sell you your color back, and they can tie that noose around your neck because they are a puppet for the culture instead of being a pastor.
Child, somebody else go ahead, because I'll take
Yeah.
over.
So a lot there, I think, going back to the question about does there need to be some type of external, I call it external qualifications. Absolutely not. My phenotype does not determine truth. My dermal, all that, truth is not determined by that. And I think as we're making these, answering these questions, we are all starting from a biblical Christian worldview, where we understand that, as was brought up earlier, our social location doesn't determine truth. There is a kind of this very contagious, infectious idea of what I call perspectivalism, where it's really about my perspective that guides the thinking of what's real and what's not. So Candace, getting back to Candace can't possibly know what she's talking about because she doesn't have XYZ experience. She hasn't lived this specific set of experiences. Therefore, her thoughts or perspective is invalid. I was going back to my initial commentary rather, is that what we ought to do, I think what Candace presents for all of us, they're watching and listening, is the value of ideas. Getting back to what people used to argue about before everyone went crazy. That is, we need to adjudicate matters in the marketplace and allow the merits of those ideas to rise or fall based on their own merits. It's not so much the packaging of the messenger, but it's the validity of the idea. Not all propositions are equally valid. I always like to use this example that if I run through the middle of an intersection, that proposition is not valid as me waiting and watching for cars to go through before I decide to drive left or right or go through the intersection. We're led to believe that in the time that we're in, that all propositions are equally valid, and not only all propositions are equally valid, certain propositions don't have any merit at all, based on who the individual is that's delivering the proposition. And so I'm using the word proposition deliberately because propositions are statements that have truth value. And so the question is it true? Is it true or is it false? That's what we need to be looking at. As Christians, as those who are followers of Christ, that is the premium that we're looking at, right? Is what's being said commensurate with reality? If it's not, then we throw it away. We jettison it. If it is, then we receive it. We accept it, right? And so that's really where we're trying to get people to focus on. People like Candace, using her as a case study, she's trying to bring those types of things back to the forefront. Let's get away from evaluating whether or not the validity of an idea has credibility based on the messenger. And let's get back to evaluating the soundness of an idea, right? So,
Right. I appreciate how you flesh your thoughts out, Brother Rick, and give us new vocabulary words. Like, this is why I stay close to you, because I know I am going to enrich my academic profile. Just it's gonna get stepped up a notch. This is why you gotta have smart friends. Something that you said about propositions that have truth value. If it's true, we receive it. If not, we reject it. I love that statement. I'm glad that you brought that up. And speaking of statements that have truth value, I do have to bring up how Candace Owens responded with the whole George Floyd incident. Now, when that incident happened, y'all know who I'm married to. Robert is very quiet, but he's just gonna call a spade a spade. And he echoed 99.9% of everything that Candace Owens said about that George Floyd situation. He was like, watch, I can guarantee you when the truth comes out, all these folks that's burning down their city just mad are gonna just sitting there looking stupid, because what we see is not what actually is. She got a lot of flack for stating that, because some people were like, well, it's in poor taste, a man just died. And we can have a discussion and make an argument about that. To me, and this could just be me having a biased view of certain things that she says. I'm able to weed through the emotions and be like, yeah, but it was true. Some people were saying that, an image bearer lost their life, and it doesn't matter how it happened. We should just mourn with everyone who's upset and mourn, and then deal with the inconvenient facts surrounding his death later. Whereas I was like, no, I don't know. No, that's just not where I was. So I want to hear from Kevin and then Jason, and then I do want to hear what Virgil has to say about that. Do you believe that the sentiments behind, if you're not familiar with it, I'll let you know, how she responded, and she was trying to get people to think critically and objectively about the George Floyd situation. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. I'll just say, first of all, if I'm going to get more outspoken when I turn 50, I'm afraid to turn 50. Because
You should.
I'm afraid.
Come on, man.
I'm
Come on
afraid
and
what I
join.
might say.
I'm ready. Let's go.
Yeah, and I also want to clarify my position on early Candace. So I personally like early Candace, but you got to remember where I was in 2017. I was an elder and a predominantly white person dealing with a lot of critical race theory, dealing with a woke black crowd. And the minute I share Candace on my social media feed, I've lost them, right? And so that was kind of where I was on early Candace. I agree with what she was saying, but I knew that the way she was coming, the people that I was trying to reach wouldn't accept the message that she was giving, even if it was a message they needed. You know what I'm saying? But in terms of what was the last question? What's the current question?
We were talking about the George Floyd effect.
How she was saying to George Floyd. Yeah.
Right.
If you have the quote, it'd be good to read it. I remember she said something about him that was derogatory that I felt was unnecessary for the statement. Right? It was either calling him a criminal or a thug. Like, it was something that was just inflammatory for the sake of being inflammatory. Right? And it's not that I didn't agree with her position at the time. It was the way she was coming at it. It was almost as if she was adding someone in the chat earlier said there's a difference between speaking truth and being inflammatory, right? Or intentionally inflammatory. And I felt there were times where I agree with her position. I agree that I don't think Officer Chauvin killed George Floyd. I think he died of a fentanyl overdose. Whenever you stand up on your feet and you say, I can't breathe, how are you going to tell me that the knee on his neck is why he couldn't breathe? Like, and we know he had a lethal amount of fentanyl in the system. We know he swallowed the pills. Like, it just didn't make sense. But in terms of Candace, I agree with her position at the time. But I think if you have that statement, it'd be good if we can read it, her tweet or wherever it was. It was something in there. I wish he wouldn't have said that, right? Because to me, it took away from legitimacy of the truth of her statement.
And let me jump in, and I agree with you, Kevin, wholeheartedly. And that's kind of what I think. She says really profound things, and she'll throw, in some instances, she might throw a stumbling block in her own path. I think the way she handled George Floyd, I heard it, I was like, ugh. I felt like a lot of other people. You could probably agree with 99.9% of what she said. It's just some of the stuff didn't need to be said. And like, I can understand that, but I probably wouldn't have needed to say it. And I bet you if she was being honest right now, she probably wish she hadn't said it. But let me move past that. Like, I know the black folk that are willing to throw her away and completely disregard everything that she said because she didn't bow down and venerate George Floyd. But when she says that our communities are in shambles because we have so many little black boys that don't know what they're going to be when they grow up because they don't have any black men around them, they're okay with that reality. But you want to throw Candace away because she's literally saying what everybody needs to say. And I'll just say the quiet parts out loud. These little black boys don't know what they're going to be. So they don't know how to be men because there are no men around them. They got
Jason, you know what the real is? It's not that they're okay with it. They don't want you to say it out loud.
Well, guess what? Here it is right now. Go ahead and clip it because I'm about to say it. They angry mama, they angry grandmama, they angry aunties and cousin and them around them. They don't even see a man. They don't even know that they're supposed to stand up and urinate. Okay, I'm here for it. DearWokesy@gmail.com. They don't even know. They don't know. And I'm a former school teacher here in Atlanta. I can tell you, as sure as my name is Jason, these little boys don't know what they're supposed to do. And so you got these little boys, they got all their hormones going crazy, and they don't know what to do. And so therefore, y'all are okay with that reality. Getting robbed, mugged, and such by these little boys, but you mad at Candace because she sat there and said George Floyd wasn't an angel. Come on now.
I told y'all
smarter than that.
3 generations of bastards having bastards, and people got mad because I said that. I was like, well, what you call them?
So if I don't call them bastards, what would you like me to call them that's going to cause you to be upset enough to actually go do something about this issue? Unparented, unfathered youth? What is a term that you need that's going to make you get off of your lazy backside and do something?
This gets back.
But you had a
This
Candace.
is like what I was. Go ahead, Kevin.
Now, it was so bad, and it was such a part of our culture growing up. I mean, we had rhymes about it. DADDY. You don't even know that guy. Your daddy. Your daddy.
Show
You know what I'm
enough.
saying? That was the reality.
Yeah.
And that's why everybody say, no, your mama, because then nobody know their daddy.
Right. They knew they couldn't say your daddy.
Yeah. And this gets back to something I was saying before. Sometimes people need to be fed up. What does it take? Because if you just say, well, we just got some issues. Okay. That's maybe one way of looking at it. Or you can say you have some real problems. And what has happened is this gets back to, I think, another thing that we might get to in our conversation. The need to always apply esteem in places where it doesn't need to be. That is, if the baby is ugly, call the baby ugly. Don't say the baby is cute when the baby's ugly.
If the
Right?
baby ugly, call the baby ugly.
So the problem is we want people to lift us up and fill us with all these platitudes, right? Instead of telling us what's really going on. And if you never really address, it's the same way we present the gospel. I'm not saying we are trying to be insensitive when we present the gospel, but we want to call sin, right? We want to call a spade, or else you're not going to understand the severity of the problem you're in, and you're not going to appreciate the remedy in the person and work of Jesus Christ, right? So the same thing is true when we're dealing with these social issues, right? Which is all rooted in sin. We know that. We know the foundational issues. But dealing with the symptoms as they're manifested is that if you just treat them as if, everyone gets a trophy, everyone gets a gold star, but we cannot tell you that Jamal can't read. Right? Because if we say Jamal can't read, then we're hating the victim. But Jamal can't read.
No,
If we
it's not
don't
true.
tell him that-
Jamal has an adverse relationship with words, Rick. It's
Yeah.
not that he can't read. It's an adverse relationship with the sentences.
He's reading phobic.
All of that stuff. And I tell you how bad it's gotten. Okay. Jason mentioned he worked in education. My wife is an educator as well. And he comes home frustrated. Okay. We're gonna change that, by the way. That's short term, right? But anyway, they don't even you can't even fail someone anymore in the classroom. That's how bad it is. Failure is no longer an option because it's not even on the table when you're dealing with a lot of these students. You got to give them 1 chances, 2 chances, 3 chances. Like, how many chances do you give someone? So you set people up by not addressing the issue. You're setting folks up to fail at life. That's what we're. That's what's happening.
Let me correct you.
You're either going to deal with the issue now, or you're going to deal with it when they're 6 feet under, or they're in the penitentiary somewhere. One way we're going to be dealing with the issue is I'd rather deal with it earlier on when we can attack it for what it is than to deal with the major consequences later.
I want to push back. I think we're delaying the reality of failure. So just like with riding a bike, like you need to fall off your bike at once. The sooner you fall off the bike, the better. You know what I'm saying? Like, then but if you're successful at riding a bike till you're 30, till you're 40, and when you finally hit a patch and fall, you're gonna break a hip. I mean, it's gonna be bad. When you could have learned how to fall off a bike and dismount properly. Anybody who's done Olympic weightlifting knows you have to know, you really want to know real early how to dump a weight. Because once the weight gets too heavy and you don't know how to dump it, you can be like a guy that I know whose shoulder came out of place during a competition. You see his shoulder come out of place in the video. I can show it to you if y'all want to watch it. But because I never learned how to dump weights. But that was my fault. So the sooner you learn how to dump a weight, the better. And in this situation, it's the exact same thing. Learn how to fail early so that you know what to do because they don't know. So they're pushing it down the road, down the road, and now look where they are.
Yeah. And
Monique, I need you, Monique.
Yeah, this goes back to the civil rights movement. Let's be honest.
You coming for them now.
We're going to go there because what the civil rights movement taught us was that our grievances was our political capital, right? And we can never let that go. That's why we can't. That's why we're not supposed to say these things out loud. That's why we got our own code and an off code, right? Anything that takes away from our political capital, anything that takes away our grievance, which would be accountability, which would be, Jamal can't read and all of these acknowledgments, that you not supposed to say it, because when you say it, you're betraying the community because you're taking away our power. And our political power is our grievance that we want to continue to use. We can never lose our grievance, right? That's why racism doesn't go away. It just shifts and changes and manifests. Like, we're going to make sure racism don't go away, because we need to keep playing that card, because that is where our political power is. And it's really sad that we have given up true mobility, true progress for the sake of holding on to a past grievance, right? And we're being held there by the political leaders in our society, those preachers that are hooked to the Democratic Party, those pundits that are hooked to the Democratic Party, those politicians that are hooked to the Democratic Party, those pundits that are hooked to the Democratic Party, those professors, all of them, right? They are on the payroll, and they are just playing the community to keep us riled up in this grievance that we just got to go to the polls, y'all, and vote, and we have given up any self-agency, any self-respect, to continuously be seen as victims because we don't want to lose our political grievance.
Right.
And I'll add on to that, Kevin, because I'll say that the reality is that in order for us to have our political power, quote, they have to keep us dumb. We have to continue to not be able to read. We have to continue to, not do all the things that the conservative right would say you really should be doing. You really should know how to have sight words when you're 5. You really should be able to, do all these things. And
that's racist.
It is
racist. Reading at 5 is whiteness.
But they have to always have a victim. You always have why do you think the LGBTQ plus alphabet community moved over to hitch themselves to the civil rights movement and to Black people? You have to always have a victim. And so as long as they can continue with that victim narrative, they'll use the fact that you can't read against you. They'll prop it up like reading's racist anyway, making sure that the only thing you can read is the names on the voting ticket.
Right.
Yeah.
So I am loving everything that everyone is saying. You guys, Chad joined the live stream. Would y'all believe me if I told y'all I emailed him and he was just showing up? Y'all know Chad be late for everything. I'm joking. I did not email Chad. I did not. But Chad, we are so glad to have you. We appreciate what you're doing over there on your channel and all of the wisdom and knowledge that you share over there. I pop in from time to time, and you guys have some riveting discussions. Speaking of which, I need to reach out to Blanche because that dude is funny. Oh my gosh, I love watching his Instagram feed. But listen, I want to ask you guys, now this is going to be a little controversial, and this is probably going to make people upset. But
hey, sis, before you jump to the top, I've got to. There's like 2 things I've been trying to hold on to.
Get it
so
out.
Before you get to, I want to go back to something you said about who Candace chose as a marriage partner, and I think you guys were spot on with what you're saying. The issue of standpoint epistemology is in place. The standard of truth is now, no pun intended, is now on the basis of somebody's level of melanin. However, all of us know, every one of us, if we're honest, we know that as we thought about the spouse that we would choose, we had to think about what ethnicity they would be. If you had a desire to speak out publicly, as I did when I was coming up, I did have to think about, okay, if I marry somebody white, it is not going to minimize any truth that I share. It won't minimize it. However, it will provide for some an opportunity to dismiss everything that I've said on the basis of the fact that I didn't marry someone of the same ethnicity. Bottom line, point blank. So Candace knew that more than any of us. I mean, I'm much older than Candace. I'm 50 plus, right? I get. I came up when dating someone of another ethnicity was kind of looked at sideways. Now it's like celebrated. But I knew going in, if I marry someone who's not the color of my skin, I'm gonna hear about it. I'm gonna hear about it from Black women. I'm gonna hear about it from white folks. I'm gonna hear about it. Bottom line, I'm gonna hear about it. So I had to think through whether or not I was going to choose to go that direction based upon the impact that I wanted to have in my quote unquote community. Now, I can't think of being married to anyone other than the spouse I have, but I wouldn't care what other people thought if she were not Black. I wouldn't, and so Candace has made an obvious choice and a decision, noted, and she recognizes that with it is going to come a segment of society that is going to push back or ignore or use as an excuse that fact. Now, as it pertains to her husband's Catholic background, I ignore much of what she says about Christianity because of who she chose to marry. She chose a Catholic. Now, if she was serious about her grandfather's faith and understood it to the degree that she would have married someone who was a Christian. And so I really ignore what she says from a Christian standpoint. Not that when she states truth, it's not truth, but it's I weigh it differently than I would any of you on the panel, because I know the theological gravitas that each and every one of you bring to bear. That said, finally, I went back and looked up what she said about George Floyd. She actually, Floyd died the 25th of May, 2020. And I think a part of what you all expressed was a pushback based upon the timing of what she said. Perhaps it could have been on the basis of what she said, but I actually went back and pulled up some of the statement that she said. I want to share a couple of clips from it because I think it was interesting, because in its context, it is not as provocative as you may have remembered it, right? She started by explaining there's something that's been weighing on her very heavily on her mind. She said there's so much pressure. And I'm quoting her, quote, "There was so much pressure for me to go with the popular opinion about who George Floyd was. We are being sold a lot of lies at the detriment to the Black community, at the detriment to the white community, and at the detriment to America as a whole." She continues, quote, "Our culture is unique from other communities because we're the only community that caters to the bottom denominator of our society. Not every Black American is a criminal. Not every Black American is committing crimes. But we are unique in that we are the only people that fight and scream and demand support for people in our community who are up to no good." And then she goes on to explain. She said, quote, "For whatever reason, it has become fashionable over the last 6 years for us to turn criminals into heroes overnight. It's something that I find despicable. George Floyd was not an amazing person. George Floyd is being upheld as an amazing human being." And she goes on to tell about his background, what it was that he did. She said, quote, "Everyone is pretending that this man lived a heroic lifestyle. We are embarrassing. We are embarrassing in that regard. Nobody wants to tell the truth in Black America. Our biggest problem is us." She went on for 17 minutes in that vein. I think given that context, what she said was not as provocative as you may have remembered it. What could be the case is, given the proximity of the statements shortly after Floyd's death, because she made these statements on June the 5th, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, June 5th is when these statements were made in a 17-minute video. May 25th was when George Floyd died. So she's just weeks away from the death and the incident. And she laid out her case and then made all the statements that she made. So I look at it from a standpoint of, when she's making the statements, She's not saying anything that any one of you, as I follow all of you. I'm a fan of all of you. And I follow y'all, and those statements are not any statements that each and every one of you on this panel have not made at one time or another. I think perhaps the proximity to the event could be playing a role in how you feel about the statement she made. I'll land the plane there.
Okay, yeah. I mean, this, like I said, and it just could be who I'm married to. When I take information in from the public square, like I've just filter it through this something else, because my husband is always trying to help to keep me grounded and be like, see, you in your feelings, fall back a little bit and think this through, because you wilding out and there's no reason for you to wild out. And so we've been together 17 years, so I guess it worked, because a lot of things that people say don't really bother me as much as they should. But here's the direction I want to go in. Men, right, claim to want someone like a Candace Owens, yet women overwhelmingly despise women like her. So how is this supposed to work? Because when I talk to my male friends that are single, or of, they're in that marriage range, they would love for someone to have all of the qualities and the combination that Candace has. She's cute, she's fit, she's well read, she's articulate, she loves being a mom, she doesn't mind making her husband a sandwich. Like, I think for me, I'm struggling to understand why it is so difficult for someone like her to be accepted, when we have the antithesis. We have these pro-black feminists, one who's on the Supreme Court who can't tell us what a woman is. Then you got cackling Kamala. You got Fonnie Willis around here being lauded and praised. They might as well just put her on a throne and ride her through the streets of Atlanta. We have all of these other examples of women that, in my opinion, I don't even want my daughters to know their names. And yet someone like a Candace Owens, I'm like, if anybody is going to be elevated and say, this is a fine example of an American, a young woman that is making moves and doing great things, like, why do you think men claim to want a woman like her, but women despise women like her? Like, how are we ever going to even repair our communities when the battle of the sexes can't even, like, is there anyone that's approved? Because apparently Candace is not even, she's not even a good example, and I think she is. But that's just me. I guess I'll let the men, maybe Monique, you want to
figure out where are you finding these men who is looking for a Candace Owens type?
Right.
Like,
I know
that's
lots
my
of dudes. Listen, they like, yo, Candace, they love Candace. Yes.
I do think there's more black men that are coming away from the Democratic plantation. Like, statistically, we see that. But girl, I ain't seen no man who has been, because I mean, come on. Because I will respond to Virgil and say, as someone who's not married, I do see this idea and thought of like, well, who you marry, matters and things like that. As far as like skin color, that's just a cultural conversation. But girl, I ain't seen nobody say I need to find. Let me find.
Survey 100
as your
men.
podcast co-host, I got you. Hey fellas, y'all in the chat, y'all single, put it in the chat.
Whoa, not the dating show. Y'all stop Kevin. Y'all stop Kevin.
Wait a minute, I'm trying to see the chats. What are they saying?
Wait a minute now. But no, okay, so can I speak to the women part?
Yes.
I low-key just think that in the Black community, a lot of women just have issues with themselves. I think they have issues with their mama. I think they have issues with other women, and it just comes out. Especially I would say people in my generation, and this almost like emotionally absent mother, and like just all of the issues that women have with their mothers. This idea of either like a domineering woman or someone who's just going to speak very bluntly to you. I feel like we may want to be that, but we don't necessarily want to hear that. And so when it comes to somebody like Candace, I don't think she's well accepted, but I don't think that it's a Candace thing. I think that it's just a woman thing. Sometimes I also think that we don't want to see other women really doing well. Like where is the group of cheerleaders who is just coming up behind you talking about, run sis, come on sis, you got this sis. That's not really
I got like two. I only got like two of those.
That's what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Like where I feel like we should be our champions. We should be the ones like really just come on, like you got this, you can do this. But unless you are in the social justice warrior camp, we gonna tear you down. And even those in the social justice warrior camp, they're gonna tear you down too. Like you can only get so far.
This chat is killing me. Oh my gosh. Somebody they don't like their mama. Then some people are saying that men are intimidated by intelligent women. Maybe I just have a different circle of guy friends.
I do not think that I think that men enjoy, and what man want a dumb woman? Like a woman, let me just put her up in the corner. Let me post her over here. I don't think that that's
I got jump in.
No, but it is the presentation. Like I remember, and I'm gonna be real transparent. I remember on a podcast, on one of our podcasts, me and Kevin 2 years ago, what was that verse you quoted that had me all shook up? Because he was like, you said that it would be better for a man to like live
on the corner of a rooftop.
Yeah. Yes. And I had to think about that. Because I'm like, I would at that, especially during that time, I was like, I'll let you know exactly what I think when I want to let you know it. That is not going to win no favors. So it's not that men want you to be ignorant and dumb and mute and just making them a sandwich. But it's what's your whole presentation? But we in our community as women, we also have daddy issues. And our daddy issues present like, I got to protect myself. You're not going to talk to me crazy. And so as women, we need to do some things. We need to do some work. And so, yeah, but I don't buy that lie about men just really, they just intimidated by us. Because we got 4 married men right here. I think that it kind of goes against that narrative.
Okay. I agree. Yeah. And my wife has more degrees than most people. And she's an extremely brilliant woman. The problem and the issue that we have is I saw somebody say that men are intimidated by intelligent women. That's not the case. The case is most of the time they're coming across like men. They're coming across like dudes, just in a third.
Here we go.
That's the problem. Let's use Ebony K. Williams. Let's use her as an example. She got more degrees than everybody on this live stream. And she come across like a guy. Like I expect her to stand up when she pees. She's a whole guy. With long hair and nails, and she's an AKA. She's one of the first male AKAs. But she comes across like a dude. No guy is looking for that. So one of the problems is that women think they are bringing to the table, let's use a marketplace example. They're bringing to the marketplace what men actually want. Men don't want another guy. I know even in Atlanta, guys don't want guys. Guys want a woman. And if you come across, you can be intelligent and not come across like a dude. Because it's not intelligence is the issue. That's not it. It is masculine energy coming across like a skirt wearing guy. So if you come across like that, please understand that's what's being pushed off. It's not that you got 3 degrees. It's not because you got doctor, PhD, or whatever behind your name. It's the fact that you come across like a guy. And you can think I'm wrong, but just watch any of these podcasts with these cackling chicks on there and just ask yourself, don't they seem like dudes? Don't they come across very masculine in their approach and in such that nature? And then just ask yourself in the logical thought process, in the theater of your mind, what dude actually wants that?
and wants to wife that up. Because I'm telling you right now, I put it in the chat earlier. I married my wife because she's beautiful. And I was like, this chick is going to keep me? Absolutely. Let me put a ring on it quick. Because I wanted cute little kids. And my second born is right here running the desk right now. And you know what? I overkicked my coverage, baby. Let me tell you right now. Because she's stuck with me. Because our kids look just like her. I love it. But again, the idea, but she didn't come across like a doggone man. She didn't come across like she gonna wrestle me or something. I mean, it was just ignorant. But go ahead.
But, okay, so here's my thing, and I 100% agree with you. But I think when you think about, and I'm just a little bit younger than you, I'm 46. When you think about women in my generation or our generation, one, we come in on the back of that welfare state where men are largely absent. And what did our mothers teach us? I'm from South Central. I can't speak largely across the whole country, but you get the whole all the Black conscious movement from the Black groups like TLC and all that. Like, I don't need you. I don't need a man. I'm going to do for myself. You get even what's his name? TD Jakes. What was his book?
Woman
Think
Are
Like a
Loose.
Man.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like
Steve
Harvey.
Okay, so it's you, but you get this idea that in order for me to be successful, I don't need a man, but I need to act like a man in order to be able to hold my own. That does not work in a relationship, because in a relationship, you do not want two men. But we as women have been reared to be not men, but to have this thought process like a man, to be able to protect. Because I didn't grow up with no daddy in my house, so I had a lot of fights. My mama gave me a knife when I was 14. Like, it was you gonna have to learn how to protect yourself, because there's not gonna be no man there to do it. So then when you see these women who are coming across as men, or men in skirts or men with nails and long hair, it's because that's what they've been taught. It's how they have been reared in order to be successful. It's the sick idea of what it means to be a woman, and the sick idea of what success looks like.
Yeah. And feminism is all about a woman being able to compete with a man equally within the marketplace.
Yes.
That's what feminism is all about. That's what abortion is about. That's what all this is about, for a woman not to be hindered in any way to compete with men in the marketplace. And so all of these women who are reared in this feminist mindset to compete with men in the marketplace, they're very successful. They're the Ebony K. Williams, but they are men, like Jason said. They are so masculine because that's what they believe, that's what it meant to be a strong woman or a good woman, and what they're bringing. I spend probably too much time in the red pill spaces, but what women have taught themselves and told themselves is attractive has nothing to do with what men actually want.
Yeah.
Please it is a complete disconnect.
Again, Kevin, I think
it is a complete disconnect of value systems. What women have believed what makes them good and attractive has nothing to do with what men want.
But that's also something that's largely taught by the father. And when you don't have a father in your home, where does this information come from?
That's a good point.
I agree 100%.
That is a good point.
Yeah, true. Let me get back to something though. I think because we spent a lot on the women's side, and I want to deal a little bit on the man's side a little bit in regards to Candace Owens. So let me give you $100 word. Okay, Candace Owens is what I would call a sapiophile.
So what?
All right,
Professor Rick, explain that to us.
That's a person who's attracted to people's minds and intelligence. If you remember her interview on the Breakfast Club, she said that she had a problem finding men. She said, first of all, she, dated Black men. She even dated Asian men. So she was open. Her issue was finding a man that could meet her intellectually. Right. And so there's nothing wrong with that. I don't fault. I mean, it's finding your good match, finding someone that matches who you are and your personality. So she says, because in my mind, I'm always thinking about all these things all the time, if you recall, during that Breakfast Club conversation. So the thing is, I think I want to balance that with what was already said from several of you. Men don't have an issue with intelligent women. So the issue that men have, what men have an issue with, are women that don't understand what it means to be a woman. That's the issue. And so the thing is, you can have an intelligent woman, someone who's cerebral, but it's also very feminine. That's attractive to men. Being feminine. What does it mean to be a feminine woman? We got to get back to that again. That's not what's being taught, right? The whole idea of feminism actually destroys the idea of what it means to be a feminine woman. I know it's interesting, but it's true. So is there a man that would want to be with Candace Owens? Well, the proof is in the pudding. She's married to somebody that wanted her.
And nobody's married to Ebony K. Williams.
Does her mindset, the way she operates, fit all kinds of men? No. It's going to be a specific type of man that is going to mesh well with someone like a Candace Owens, regardless of their melanin count, right? Regardless of their melanin count, it's going to be a specific type of man, okay? So she can be multifaceted. She can be intelligent and feminine at the same time. I think what we're talking about is women have believed a lie that somehow femininity is weakness. But that's their greatest power and their greatest strength, and that's how God designed them and their purpose, right? And so, getting back to that, as we have this conversation about why women hate someone like a Candace Owens, it's not just about her intellect, it's not just about her ideas, but she's also very feminine as well. And I think that militates against a lot of people that maybe take issue with her.
Yeah, and Rick, on that too, she doesn't have to dress provocative to be feminine.
There we go. Yeah.
Virgil, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I'll jump in here, and then I've got to head out. I so enjoyed the conversation. Appreciate y'all a ton. Each and every one of you. Monique, I see you. Kevin, I see you. It's all good. Y'all a family. I see y'all all the time. Jason, I see you. Bro.
Okay, I felt some kind of way.
Listen, my wife, when she heard the word sapiophile, said, "That's me." So, she was explaining how she's a sapiophile because she got with your boy. You know what I'm saying? I just want to put that.
There we go.
She said the cuteness was the cherry on top. So, I ain't mad at none of that. Got got all of that in play. Listen, I completely agree with my brother. I what you see in Candace in her space on her platform is a character, and I don't mean that in a negative way. I just mean when you're on camera and you've got a microphone and you're engaging people, there's a persona that you're going to carry with you in a way that you're going to interact and speak. And so that's what all of us get to see. Now, when I see that, in fact, I was looking at my man Chad Jackson's comment. He said, if I were single, I would not be attracted to Candace Owens because of the mouth. He said, don't get me wrong, intelligence is an attractive trait, but she seems to overdo it. And I think many men would see the persona of who she is and be off-put by that, right? And watch her online and social media and engage in those things. Not that they would think she was not attractive. They would just look at all of the mouth and all of and be like, hey, that's not for me. So my thought would be she would probably have a difficult time finding someone until she turned off the persona and became whoever she was when the camera was off, when the microphone was shut down. And so none of us know who that person is, right? The man who decided he wanted to put a ring on it, and he did. And I'm not mad at him for that. And so I think, it'd be difficult to say, I don't know how difficult it was for her to find this man or for her to do what she did. I don't care. I got mine. So I'm not really trying to get into nobody else's business about what all they tried to do or how they tried to get it. But simply to say, I can see folks being off-put by that. As far as how women would respond to her, I'll let you ladies have the last word on that. I I don't know about that. I just think, women should support other women. I support other men, support, ladies here, and what you all are doing. I will say this: if I were, Candace's husband, I would not want her out in the front as much as she is. As a husband, I would want to protect her from all the bullets that are coming her way in that front line. And so my wife gives me a hard time. I like to keep her to myself. Y'all who have met her know that she's, all of that. She's out there, she's connecting with people, loves people. When she shows up, folks don't even know I'm there, right? So, but at the same time, I want all of that for me. I'm not trying to share that with the world. I'm not trying to share that with a bunch of people. And I would, if I were him, I would feel the same way. But their relationship is their relationship. They do it how they do it, and it is what it is. But I've got to run. It's been a joy to be with y'all tonight. Thanks for letting me hang out.
Absolutely.
Thank you for coming through.
You're welcome anytime. We still need to
fam.
go over your book too.
We'll do it. My wife is over here. She's looking at me. She's saying, "Tell them I said hello."
Oh, hello
And
there.
Tamika wanted me to tell you, April, she saw you on Lead Attorney. She was like, "Girl, you did your thing. You did your thing."
Thank you. Tell her I love her and miss her greatly.
All right, we'll talk to y'all. Y'all be blessed. Take care. God bless.
Awesome. Take care. Hold on, let me I've got to figure out how to do this. Lord have mercy. How I do it?
Take
Will it
camera
just
5
go away
away.
on its own?
Yeah, take camera 5 away.
It's a button you can remove.
Oh, I see it. Chat.
You actually
First of all, wait a minute. Now you rushing me. I told y'all I don't know what I'm doing.
Black takeover. There we go. Oh,
Well,
goodness.
where's everybody else?
I don't. In the penalty box. Okay, there we go.
Somebody's missing.
Yeah, somebody is.
Where are you?
Jason.
Oh, okay. I got you, Jay. Sorry.
Oh, I was ready. I was ready to start typing about being disenfranchised and all the buzzwords. This
If
play
you don't
critical race
stop
theory
it,
bingo. I was ready.
Listen, so I will end that segment of the questioning with this. This is me speaking as a woman, as an entrepreneur, and a wife. To me, and I have not always agreed with Candace Owens on everything. In fact, I was highly annoyed and bothered with her and that whole Kim Klacik situation. Like that really rubbed me the wrong way, because I felt like it was kind of like some Mean Girl vibe. So I had issues with her on that and a few other things. But I'll say, as an entrepreneur, I absolutely think Candace has a very brilliant mind. She has, she's a brilliant strategist in terms of how she goes from being Red Pill Black, the YouTuber, right, and being provocative and saying the things that needed to be said despite the pushback, and going from that to garnering the attention of all of these other media outlets, starting her Blexic organization, which I used to be a part of. She gets a lot of criticism, but I didn't see anybody else really navigating in that space, trying to wake up people that looked like them and say, listen, we got to get off of this plantation. Like, we're free now. And most of the people who had criticism from Candace never even showed up to a Blexic event to see how she celebrated Negro American culture. And everything that she did in those events was very, very strategic to highlight, this is who we used to be. She would show footage of early Negro Americans and families and Black men and Black women dancing together and walking on their way to Sunday school. It was a very nostalgic, beautiful celebration of Negro American culture. I think people had issues with her because she wasn't celebrating what I call the Black culture. I separate Black culture and Negro American culture. But as a businesswoman, Candace is going to be just fine. She has built, put it like this. The nation listens to her voice because, first of all, you don't know she's going to say something totally crazy and it's just going to, you don't know who she's going to make angry. But 9 times out of 10, what you can't say is, like, where's the lie? Like, she says it. She stands in this authentic freedom to say what she wants. And I think that that's a lost art in America because everybody is afraid to say something out of fear of offending someone else. Like, she's just like, I'm gonna say it, and then whoever's mad, just be mad. And then as a wife, I love how she wanted to get married and start a family right away. I think that's something that should be commended. She didn't allow, well, this career has to come first. She realized that this is time sensitive. I got to get these babies in, and she's cranking them out. And so I just I'm just one of those people that when I see from an entrepreneurial perspective, someone that's just doing the darn thing and is able to position themselves for opportunities that are limitless, I'm going to celebrate that regardless because I'd rather celebrate a Candace than a Ketanji Brown Jackson or a Kamala Harris or Fonnie Willis every day. You're never going to hear me say anything in a celebratory manner toward those women because they are precisely what is wrong with the women in our community. And so for that reason, I don't really have a whole lot of smoke for Candace outside of that whole Kim Klacik situation. And I respect her as a media personality, and I think she's a brilliant young woman that I don't even think she ever needed the Daily Wire. They needed her, and they're feeling the smoke from their hypocrisy now. So does anyone else want to weigh in on that before we move on?
I'm good.
I don't know. I mean, I wasn't expecting the Daily Wire smoke. Where'd that come from?
Oh, well, it's on the list. I have here that Candace was, they parted ways. I don't want to say she was fired, and her and the Daily Wire parted ways, and the Daily Wire claims to be the arbiter of free speech. But we see that there's a limit to their free speech the moment you have anything to say about a particular nation state, namely Israel. And so what I wanted to do and just weigh in from you guys' perspective, if you believe that the Daily Wire was being hypocritical for letting her go based on the fact that she has an opinion that is different from theirs, or do you think that it was the right thing to do? Like, what are your thoughts on that whole situation?
Yes.
Oh, no, go ahead. Y'all go ahead.
Yeah, I covered this actually very recently. I had a live on this actually it's on Sunday, where I covered this with detail. So the thing is, Candace Owens was the draw, a major draw for Daily Wire. So they brought her in because she was on fire. She was like a lightning in the bottle situation. And they knew their subscribership would go up by bringing someone like Candace Owens because of her opinions, her ideas, things we've talked about already. And so you have a person that's very opinionated, that speaks her mind, that's not afraid of independent thought. And this is the person you bring in, okay? And they're not just what was going on with Israel and Hamas, but there's been a number of other things that have taken place internally, some internal conflict that was always kind of brewing beneath the surface. Sometimes those things came out on X, formerly known as Twitter. Some of that, those disagreements, which was so unfortunate. But to get to the heart of where you were going to your questioning, do you think Daily Wire's arbiter of free speech in light of how that whole situation transpired with Candace Owens? I would say no. And the reason why I say no is because you need to have, you look at the talent they have, you need to be able to have different ideas put in the public square, right, and allow the public to weigh the pros and cons of those ideas. Once you start to muzzle people because they have an independent thought that doesn't align with a certain ideology, now you can no longer say, well, we allow free speech to be at the forefront. That's one of our core principles as a media company. The other thing that was really telling, and I covered this on Sunday, was the leadership, how the leadership handled the separation of Candace Owens. That was an area that, quite frankly, I felt was very unprofessional, because even if they disagreed with Candace Owens' stance, specifically people like Jeremy Boring, CEO of Daily Wire, there was a right way to handle that situation. That could have all been done behind the scenes, right? They could have worked out the terms of separation without it becoming a media circus, right? And so you see the lack of consideration for different ideas, and you see how they push back when you have an idea that doesn't align with what their a specific ideology that they're trying to promote. I think those two things gives credence to the fact that they're moving in a direction where you have to almost be monolithic in how you're thinking about things, right? Because the thing is, even if you disagree with Candace, let's say even if you disagree, shouldn't they, as a company that promotes free speech, say, we're going to show everybody else how to do this, right? We're going to show everybody else how you can disagree and still be professional, and how to have civil discourse in a way that doesn't seek to vilify a person, right? One side or the other. They totally missed the ball there, how they executed.
I agree.
Man,
Who wants to chime in?
We about to disagree.
Really?
Do it. Yeah. So
Are you a
I come from,
dispensationalist or something?
no,
Oh.
but I come from a military background, and I have a degree in Middle Eastern studies, right? And my military background is in the area of intelligence. So I'm not some soldier carrying a rifle. I'm someone who's trained to think and analyze information. Candace was so wrong on this. She might have the right to say it, but man, she was so wrong. And
Which part do you think was wrong, Kevin?
her whole take on Israel, her whole take on the war. So she's in the Tucker Carlson camp. They are now isolationists, and anything that draws America into something, they're just against. So she's not really dealing from the standpoint of what is the real situation. She is coming from a standpoint of, I don't want us in a conflict, so I'm going to raise suspicion and question about motives, concerns, and who did what, because I don't want us involved in nothing.
I mean, I don't either. I'm sick. I'm not a warmonger.
But that's not how you handle what is true. We need, what is the real truth? What really happened on the ground? What is the real situation? And you need to report that honestly, not from your slanted view of, you just don't want us in nothing. You don't want us to give nobody else money. You don't want no more money coming from the United States to other countries. So your position is already slanted. And when you're dealing with something like a country was attacked and 1,400 people got slaughtered, right? And you're dealing with somebody like Ben Shapiro, who is Jewish, they don't want to hear about free speech when you up there come with this weird slant and you're not even dealing with the facts of the case or the situation. You're slanted, right? And so I was with the Daily Wire on this one, because Candace was tripping, because she's coming from a position that is already biased towards, I just don't want us in nothing. And let's be honest, this really started when Kanye was saying his wild, crazy stuff about Jews, and she was defending Kanye. That was where this started. And it also came out when the video leaked of Ben Shapiro talking, and he said those disparaging things about her. He didn't even know he was being recorded. So they weren't trying to make this public. It just what happened to spill out in the public, right?
Right. But my question is, why was, even if I'm at an event somewhere and someone asked me a question about a colleague, I'm not, it's just, there's some sort of professional code. Like, you're not going to disparage one of your coworkers or one of your colleagues. Like, that's like me talking crazy on a live stream about Dear Woke Christian because he said something on one of his live streams that I don't like. I personally would not. I would not do that.
Yeah, I mean, Ben is emotional about this.
Which
It's
concerns me because I'm like, you a whole
it's their
man. Like,
it's
why you
their
so
9/11.
emotional?
It's their 9/11. If 9/11 happened, there was somebody talking crazy about how, I mean, I think it was an inside job. I think we did it to ourselves, and all this kind of stuff. And just saying like off the wall stuff that kind of disparage the war effort and the response to the attack. I'm not gonna sit here and be like, well, free speech. And you work for me. No, I'm gonna fire you because I'm that upset about what you're saying. It had free speech going so far. At some point, we're human beings.
Let me ask you this, kind of just going with you, what you're saying. My point is not whether or not Candace is right or wrong. That's, just want to be clear. My point is people need to, they position themselves as a media company where different positions can be presented.
Right.
And that's the thing. So even if my argument is like, isn't like agree with Candace Owens' stance. My argument is she allowed to even have a stance? That's really my concern. Is she allowed to even say anything, right or wrong? Because she's hired for commentary, right? She's hired for, all of them are there, or at some level of talent are hired for commentary. And the thing is, if we can't adjudicate this matter, and I go back to this, in a way that demonstrates that free speech is a core principle, then there's a problem. That's really my argument. Just want to make sure I provide that clarity. That's really my argument.
I don't think we understand what free speech is. Free speech simply means the government cannot prosecute you for your speech. That's all free speech means. It does not mean there's ever any public discourse or public consequences for what you say or anything like that.
Yeah, and that's I'm totally fine with that too. So that's not the issue either, right? There can be discourse. It's how you go about having the discourse, right? Ben Shapiro could completely disagree and be completely, as he is, diametrically opposed to where Candace Owens stands. The issue is when it came to actually addressing Candace Owens, it looked really bad. I think it was Daily Wire took a black eye on this, right? Regardless of what the facts are on the ground, I think they took a black eye because of how they dealt with her, right? That's my really concern.
Yeah, I think my overarching question, because some people are saying that her stance on Israel is wrong, and I'm like I personally, I believe any sovereign nation should be able to defend itself vigorously if they choose. At the same time, I'm an American in 2024, and I'm living in a country that is purposely being allowed to be invaded by illegals. So my priorities right now are very America first, America centric, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I did hear President Trump talking about this whole issue, and when asked, he flat out told I don't know who it was in Israeli leadership. He was like, listen, had I been president, this attack wouldn't have even happened, right? Like, this wouldn't even have went down, and I never even considered that. But he is right. We
I
wouldn't
agree
even
with
be having to have a discussion about, should we keep funding them or should we not fund them? Should they defend themselves? Should they not? When Trump is like, had I been here, this wouldn't happen. And he's right, it would not have. But I'm like, okay, but we're here now. I think Americans should be free to either say, I don't like seeing innocent people being killed, but a nation must defend itself at all costs. And I don't think there's anything wrong with saying, there are innocent people on both sides. Like, there are some people who are like, I'm just a casualty of this whole war circumstance. And that was the sentiment that I felt that Candace was conveying, but I could be wrong. I don't know. My biggest issue is I don't like ethnic narcissism, regardless of who it's coming from. So whether you are black, white, Jewish, or Asian, if you come with this ethnic narcissistic mindset that can't nobody say nothing to you and about your people, even if it's objectively true, I'm looking at you like you're crazy.
like for example, I'll jump in quickly. Like that conversation he had with Rabbi Barclay. I mean, that was ridiculous. I mean, it's like everything's anti-Semitism. Like literally, now we're getting out of control. So take that sentiment. I mean, that's kind of where I'm really going with a lot of this. Is like if you lose any sense of objectivity, right? It's not about, a nation should be able to defend itself, but then if anybody says or does anything, and then you can say it's anti-Semitic, now we're not having a real conversation anymore. We're doing something else.
But Rick, that's what we're seeing now with everything is racist. I mean, and in the same argument, like if you disagree with somebody, then you are this. By me saying that our communities, the highly melanated community, needs to look at itself and do some work. Oh, well, you're a MAGA supporter. How did you get there? Where did you get that from? How did it work? I mean, I'm literally saying we need to fix our community. Oh, you hate black folk.
I got told that last week.
I'm like, I got told that I have a white wife.
Me too.
I'm like, never mind. I'm not gonna even dignify that with a comment. I'm gonna make a dusty comment out of you, and I'm gonna make YouTube AdSense off of your stupid comment. But how does the ethnicity of my wife play into the fact that I said that black people need to deal with the fact that our communities are decimated by us? Why is that? Why are you negating my comment by adding something as demonstrably ignorant as that? But hey, whatever. I mean, just do.
No. The Jewish community has used the anti-Semitic card the way the way we've used the race card, right?
That's all I'm saying.
I've noticed the same thing. Like there could be no criticism without hiding behind, oh, that's anti-Semitic, right? But that wasn't what I was getting at in terms of Candace. Her position, when I first heard her position, it just seemed very odd that she would take that position like right after the attack. Right, she was very adamant, and it was very clear where her position was and where her goal was and what she was trying to do. Right, and in doing that, she was disingenuous in the way she was approaching the topic, and that pissed Ben off. And she didn't care about Ben. She didn't care about Ben when Kanye was saying all that crazy stuff he was saying. She didn't care about Ben when his feels of how she's going to come at this war thing, and he felt a certain way about it. Right, I'm not going to crush him for that and give her a pass. As someone else says, she's the kind of person, she starts the fire and then the house burned down. She want to know like what happened. Like Candace ain't innocent in this. Candace be starting stuff.
Got to be starting something.
Right.
Monique, do you have something you want to add?
I think I'm somewhere in the middle. Like I agree with Kevin on like Ben feels some kind of way about it. Candace did come out early with her position and what she had to say about like Israel. And Kevin and I have talked about, Israel, and much like what you said is, a nation should be able to defend itself. We got our own stuff here with not being able to watch our borders. But then when we look at the platform of the Daily Wire, and wanting to, in a way, kind of get rid of Candace's voice and her thoughts on this situation, I think that they would also do this with like somebody who stands for abortion. So I don't think that they are going to allow everybody's voice to be on their platform. So I don't know that they're completely for 100% free speech, in air quotes. Like, I don't know that they're about just having all kind of viewpoints. They might have, viewpoints that are more in line with theirs, but they're not gonna, I think you do have to kind of toe the line in order to be there. And I don't know that that's wrong. Like, I think if that's the way they want to set up their platform, then that's the way they want to set up their platform. I'll leave it there.
And it's fine. I mean, I think with under the umbrella of conservatism, right? So if they're going to be a conservative media platform, what are the parameters, right, for what that looks like, right? To your point, right? It's going to be some brand of conservatism, right? It wouldn't be any liberal voices at all. That would be a non-starter. But with under the umbrella of conservatism, what they need to, I think, flesh that out. I think there's the point I'm making, I think this is valid, is that there's not one brand of conservatism, right? There are different voices under that conservative umbrella. And yeah, somebody made a comment, and I actually agree with that. I think Q made the comment. She was like, "Well, they're publishers. They have the right to hire and fire who they want." Great, I have no problem with that. I just think that what we see is really just kind of the messiness behind the whole situation, which is really distasteful. Because I even provide that commentary on Sunday where it said, "Look, you know, this happens all the time with different publishers and media companies all the time. People, they bump heads. They need to have a discussion. Okay, we're not seeing eye to eye. I guess it's time to part ways. It happens all the time. How do we do this? How do we separate? You know, because we're not seeing eye to eye on something."
Rick, I agree with you. I just think there are certain topics that are so emotional, you give people a pass when they don't handle it well.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay.
Because
What I want
if
to
it was
do.
9/11, I don't think a lot of us would handle it well if somebody's on the other side of that, right? Emotions are high, you know.
What I want to do is take a few moments to acknowledge these super chats. I have not forgotten. I was just trying to find a way to wiggle it in. The first one is from Dear Woke Christian. He's been dropping them in the chat this whole time. This is his donation to the Colored Commentator Community Cookout.
Come on now.
Thank you very much for
I think we got a name for the show.
Right.
There we go.
And then we have Sister Addie. It was her birthday. She said, "I have to spend my birthday with y'all. This is great, family. I like that Candace don't play with Black people. She is not here for the feelings." I completely agree. I know there's some people that, you know, they can't, it's too much spice for them. And I understand. But Ramblin' Roy sends a pair character doing a classic mic drop. He sends $4.99, and then sent another one that said, "Most of Candace's critics use ad hominem attacks. Very few challenge her actual position." I would agree with that. It's so much easier to attack the person than to engage with the argument in a meaningful way. Derek Perry says, "That is what the liberals want. Blacks not achieving so that they stay a permanent underclass." You're right. This is why they're trying to keep you chained to the Democratic plantation, and they don't want you to listen to alternate ideas. They don't want Black people to wake up one day and realize, you know what, these conservative values, when I implemented them, they started working for me and things just kind of improved, and I didn't need a government program for it to happen. So thank you so much, Derek Perry, for that. Sister Addie sent another one. It's some baby lemons with some pom-poms in the hands. And Jason sent another one. This one's for the Black Card Defense Fund. He sent that. That was funny.
We got to protect the Black card. My Black card's got to be locked in and defended.
Okay.
Got to be.
Anthony Davis says Blacks need to know who they are, not what they do. And I'm not quite sure what that was in reference to. And I need a little bit more clarity on what Brother Anthony means by they need to know who they are. Because like I'm Black in terms of my ethnic expression, but who I am is united with Christ, redeemed by the blood of the Lamb, raised to newness of life, no longer a slave to sin.
Come
like
on.
that's who I am. And those are that's the category that I tend to speak in. So the last thing I wanted to say about this last segment about her and Daily Wire, this is why I'm always advocating, particularly for Christian content creators, to get your own. You need to start very early thinking about your own platform and not necessarily running to form these partnerships with these large corporations. Because I can tell you one thing about myself, my mouth will be unleashed. And I already know, because I'm not here for, you can't put a muzzle on me. It is easier for me to just say, I will build this slow and steady on my own and keep your money. Because if I come to you, that means I am beholden to whatever ideology you're going to espouse that day. And if I don't agree with it and I have a conviction about something and I want to say it, I'm going to say it. And I even feel that way about YouTube. I'm grateful for this platform, but I'm already thinking ahead, trying to build another alternative, because this can go away and I can't even be mad when it happens. I just won't. If you don't prepare for rain, when it does rain, you're going to get wet. So I think this is a business lesson for Candace. She's made her money and now she can go ahead and chart her own course wherever she wants to
No,
go.
She's about to make more money than she's ever made.
Oh,
Like,
absolutely. And
she's
I
a free
ain't
agent.
mad at her. Get the bag,
No,
Candace. Get the
Candace
bag.
ain't hurt. And Candace ain't hurt. And look, this thing went messy. Don't know what that does? That launches her next thing. Like, she's in the public eye. Like, the fact that this was an ugly divorce is good for her. Like,
Right.
Candace is fine.
That's how I feel. I'm just like, honey, get the bag, sis. Just go ahead all the way to the bank. Do what you got. And she, now in her defense, she really has not been talking about this. And Ben has been the one going on all these platforms talking about it without talking about it. Now she's coming like, do I need to go on Joe Rogan? Like, I mean, if this is how we're gonna do it, I will start talking. And so, I don't know if that was a threat, but she might. If Ben keeps talking, he was with Dave Rubin, I think it was today, literally talking about it when he ain't supposed to be talking about it. And so I don't know if she goes on Joe Rogan, it's gonna be bad for Daily Wire, because a lot of people, believe it or not, most of their viewership, a huge percentage of it, are Christians, and they feel some sort of kind of way. So I don't know, but we will see.
We will.
Do you guys have anything else that you want to input on this topic? We've covered Candace being let go by the Daily Wire. What, as Candace said, that makes Black people so mad. Does it matter who she's married to? I got one. Okay, you guys. It's two questions. The first one is, do you think Candace Owens is trying to garner a Black audience? I will start off and I will say no. I don't. Just because she went on the Breakfast Club and the Joe Budden podcast, I do not believe that had anything to do with her trying to come home to her people. First of all, Candace all right, I'm going to say this. This is your auntie talking, and I'm not putting on a filter.
Here it comes.
Candace don't need none of y'all, okay? Now, she has said what she has said, and I understand it made you feel some sort of kind of way, but she really don't need you. So the idea that she's now trying to garner this Black audience, I would vehemently disagree with that. She's always said the same thing, and she didn't get your support back then. The fact that she's going on these platforms now, I don't think it had anything to do with trying to get a broader audience.
Yep.
She really has always wanted to get this message out, and nobody would talk to her. They wouldn't talk to her. And so now I think it was a good thing for her to go on the Breakfast Club, for people to actually hear her espouse her ideas. And even though they were charitable and they were listening, they still tried to, shame her a little bit, because she didn't know how to respond to God is good by saying all the time and all the time God is good. Like,
But them rascals don't know that God, they don't serve the God that they say is good.
Right.
I didn't mean to jump on it,
Yeah,
but I'm just saying,
I
I want
rhetoric.
all of the Breakfast Club smoke. Please send it to Dear Woke Christian, dearwokec@gmail.com, because I despise them. They represent the most abased, ignorant parts of the Black culture, but they are the main place that people go to next to some other ratchet shows to go and espouse. That's it. Yeah, I want all of the smoke. Look, they can fly me up there. I will absolutely go to them and tell them exactly what I think about all four of them little clowns. But I don't think Candace is trying to come home. I think Candace is really aggressively pushing the message, as April's saying. I think she really is aggressively saying, you know what? There's a weakness here. There's a crack in the love for weekends at Bernie. There's a lot of black people are not cool with that. And so they see a crack. And I think Candace is going to run a freight train right through it and make a huge hole for black conservatives and black Christians to finally say, yes, I can leave from this foolishness, which is called the Democratic plantation, dearwokec@gmail.com.
So to add to that, to add to what Jason said, very good, is she has a podcast. I think it has like 3 million subscribers right now, right? A lot of subs, I believe.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
She already has a platform. She's good. And the thing is, we already talked about the fact that she's not afraid to go anywhere to promote her message. Right. She's willing to take on all takers. And just because those takers happen to have like, you know, predominantly urban market demographic doesn't mean that she's trying to somehow poach or get buddy with these platforms. She's just willing to go anywhere and everywhere in order for her message to be heard. Here's the thing. I mean, her goal is not necessarily to come home to them, for those people to come home to her. So like if you're marketing, you know, if you want to expand your market share, you don't stay in a silo, you expand your reach. And that's all she's doing. She has a compelling message. As we talked about before, I think she's matured. She's crafted her message and crafted her skill, her trade. And now she's just saying, look, now I don't have any restraints any longer. I'm just gonna go anywhere and everywhere to let people know where I stand on these issues. So,
yeah, I think you got to look at the fact that her organization is called Blexit. Her goal is to get black people to exit the Democratic Party. So yeah, she's going to go talk to black audiences on black content. You know, that's who she's trying to reach. She ain't trying to.
But they wouldn't let her on before.
Yeah,
they would not let her on before.
Yeah, she ain't trying to go back to the plantation. She is Harriet Tubman. She coming back to save y'all.
I wouldn't have come back. I'd be like, listen, I done said it once now.
Well, it's a smart strategy. She's going where the toxic voices are, right? She's going right into the lion's den. She's going right into the trenches. And she's going there unafraid, unapologetic, standing firm, 10 toes down, saying, this is what it is. And regardless of what the response is, mission accomplished, because she at least went into those venues and made the case. You know, no one could ever say, I mean, because part of the narrative you probably hear from some people is, well, Candace was only propped up as long as she was saying certain things about black folks, and for the benefit of certain individuals. But here's the thing: she's her own woman with her own mind, and she's able to go into these anywhere she wants. It's not about some entity propping her up to go after black people. It's her having a compelling message and saying, hey, are you willing to listen? Are you willing to hear it? If you're willing to hear it and listen, I'll show up and I'll tell you about it. That's a big difference.
It is.
I think that originally, like, her voice really, if I was to assume her heart, I would say that she originally was trying hard to go after black people, to be able to help get them away from the Democratic plantation, to help them, you know, see that they are being offered the hoodwink and bamboozle.
Yeah.
Just because she went on Breakfast Club does not mean that she is trying to like go and garner all of this black support. In reality, I think many black people felt Bidenomics in their pocket, and now they're kind of, wait, somebody's talking and they look like me, I think
Mhm.
more Black people are
There we go.
going to her. I think that her voice is starting to shake and rattle people, and they're starting to wake up. Now, it's taken a long time. It's taken some years, but I do think that people, at least when I'm seeing like on, some social media platforms, Black people are like, no, I'm cool with Candace. Like I tried it the other way, and now I'm gonna go and follow what she's saying. So I don't think that she needs to go and hunt down Black people to be able to get us away. Her words are already out there. And I think many people are beginning to share her content more, and they're sharing old content like it's something that's new, but it's making an impact. And so no, I don't think that she's going trying to rattle the cages of the Negroes. I think that was her stuff in the beginning because she really wanted people to wake up, and now she's just gung-ho on like, look, politically this is what's true and this is what's not, and if y'all want to really rock with truth and freedom and a pocketbook that's not being robbed by Joe Biden, you need to come over here.
Yeah.
Right.
And this is just proof that we need more intelligent Black conservatives in these spaces, because she's the second one. So Larry Elder did it first, right?
Right.
And there was people who was like, I don't know, I'm to rock with this dude, but he's been facts, he's been true. I can't really argue what he's saying, right? And now Candace goes on the Breakfast Club and does the same thing. Eventually, something's got to give. Eventually, people can't keep holding to the same lies when people are putting truth in front of them. They can't dispute, because DJ Envy and all of them, they can't have intelligent conversations with somebody like Candace. They can't, right? They tried to get Larry Elder in these traps, and he completely destroyed these traps they were trying to lay out. Eventually, the audience has to wake up and say, "Wait a minute, maybe we dismissed these people. Maybe they've been trying to tell us the truth for a while."
Yeah.
And so at least that's what my prayer, my hope is what's coming out of this.
Right. Looks like we have perhaps a pro blackety black that be drinking, his
Henny.
I'm gonna be nice about it. Let's be clear. You don't come on my platform and be disrespectful. Okay, now if we want to talk about self-loathing, I mean, yes, we hate our sin. We hate our sin. We hate everything that is in us that is not like God. But you are allowed to be here if you're gonna be respectful. But if you're gonna come on here to be adversarial because you can't engage with the arguments, then you can leave. And so I'll be nice and be respectful and warn you once. But if you want to get in the chat and you don't know how to act, you can go over to Dr. Umar Johnson's channel and let him grift you for some money. But don't bring
That
that.
Cash App.
Don't bring that over here. Yeah, let's
He can
just.
come to Dear World Christian to get that work. Jason's
Jason's
not on his medicine this week, so I'll give him that business for sure. He can get the
Let's
brand
be
new
real.
and
What
50
people like this person is, I'm gonna call it brainwashed by, is this idea of what it means to be Black.
Right.
They have attached the most ratchetest, ghettoest crap to what it means to be Black. And if anybody speaks against it, then you're against Black folks. No, we're against ignorance.
Right.
Right.
And stop attaching ignorance with being Black.
Yeah. And I think Kevin, you hit the ball right out of the park. I mean, it's not even about skin color.
No.
I mean, it's about a culture. I call it a culture of death. It's about a culture of death from what's being pumped to the minds of children, to young women, to young men, that will only lead to sure and certain destruction. And so we're saying, just saying, all of you who say like, well, who are these melanated folks here that are quote unquote caping for white folks? No, that's not what's going on here. Okay. What we're talking about is the fact that ideas have consequences. That's what we're talking about. And so there are ideas that will lead to your prosperity, and there are ideas that will lead to your destruction. And what we need are more people coming to the table in these discussions and saying, you know what? When someone's telling you something over and over, and we see evidence that this doesn't work, we shouldn't keep doing it. That's the definition of insanity, when to do something over and over and over again, and you're not getting the result. That's the definition of insanity. And that's essentially what has happened by and large in the Black community. We've been told a bill of lies, and it doesn't work because the proof is in the pudding. And then other people are coming, like Candace Owens, Larry Elder, and others, who are showing with facts, not just feelings, with facts, that there's another way, a way that can get us to the results that we're looking for, a way for your family, your communities, your cities. We don't have to keep doing what we've always done, because what we've always been doing has always put us at the bottom. Yes.
Sitting around waiting on the Democratic Party to save us.
Yeah,
waiting on
that's
some
why I
government
say
program or government handout.
I'm an American Negro. I don't fool with the government like that.
Our brothers, there is no issue in the Black community that reparations can solve.
Right.
Not a single one.
Amen.
Right.
No, but let
But
them
they
keep
just
begging for it.
It's just going to continue. Like, it's just going to continue. They're going to continue to play on ideas like this. Like, as long as this idea that we are a defective Black people, we are a Black people who hate ourselves, as long as they can run with that narrative, which it's so tied up. But as long as they can run with that, they will continue to divide our house, and we'll continue to work against ourselves.
Yeah, so AMP show, his thing is who's pumping it and who distributes the destruction. We don't control the media. We need answers, not repeating our downfalls. No, you don't want answers, because when people like me actually promote answers, no one wants to engage with what I say in a meaningful way either. They don't want to marry before they carry. They don't, want to stop begging and looking to a political party or the government to fix their problems, right? They don't want to get married, cooperate with one woman, stop having babies out of wedlock, both men and women, right? They don't want to shepherd their own children. These are things that I say that people have issues with that too. So it's not an issue of we control plenty of media, in the sense that no one forces us to degrade ourselves and talk about booty holes being brown and other places being pink. No one's making anyone do that. We do that to ourselves. And so listen,
they could prop Sexy Red up if we weren't buying it.
Facts.
Right? So let's just stop it. We have embraced these things as Black culture. When, as you have stated, April, this is not what Black culture was. This is not what our ancestors did. This is not what they represented, what they stood for. I guarantee you, for all the people in the chat, we have way more in common with our Black ancestors than you do, in terms of our belief system, in terms of how we view issues, in terms of how we view family, in terms of how we view God. We have way more in common with our enslaved ancestors than you do with this modern day Black culture that is full of ghetto and ratchetness, that was taken from white Southern redneck culture that came from England. It ain't even Black. Right. It is an adoption of the trailer park. And we think it's Black. No, it came from Europe. That's why Northern whites were different than Southern whites. But you got all the Black slaves in the South learning this Southern redneck culture, this trailer park culture, and then we adopt it and then think that that's really our culture. And they want to call it Black.
And let me chime in something as well. I think what we have to disabuse people of this idea that you keep hearing about. We want solutions. I don't think that's a legitimate statement, because if you really wanted solutions, you would hear what people like Candace Owens and others are saying. What people tend to bank on, I think, and Kevin, you were right on earlier, is the perpetuation of grievances. Right. It doesn't get you the solution. If you just keep talking about you're a victim and you just wash, rinse, and repeat, you're not going to get to solutions. Because the people that are propagating that is not in their best interest to get to a solution.
Yes.
It's not
And that's what we mean.
for them to get to a solution.
Yeah, and that's what we mean by the plantation.
Yeah.
That is what we mean by the plantation. These people do not want you to think differently, to get ahead, because they want you in your grievances. They want you broke, poor, messed up baby mamas and baby daddies, so that you will continue to look to them for the solution. You will go out every 4 years and vote for them and put them back in office because you need them. And you stay on that plantation, and every 4 years you say, "Yes, master," and you run to the voting booth and vote for them. Right on cue.
Go ahead, Mom.
I'm sorry. Okay. My mind keeps going back to, and I know this is about Candace Owens, but it keeps coming back. And when we're talking about culture, to the Black church, because in every hood Black area that I go to, there's a church on every corner. And so where is the church in helping us to create a different culture for our people?
They're perpetuating the same trash culture.
Yeah. And that's so I guess I'm sitting here thinking, like, is the issue that, like, all we keep hitting on is this culture idea that, like, you know, Blacks are continuing to adopt the culture, but where is the church speaking in to the culture that is already sitting in the middle of? Like, to me, that then asks the question of, is there, and Kevin, we've talked about this a little bit, like, is there warrant for a quote unquote Black church, even though that doesn't mean 100% all Black churches, but when our Black churches are infused so deeply with things like cone and the culture, are we now pushing that idea onto the people in the neighborhoods where these Black churches are positioned?
Well, let me speak to something real quick. When you got a guy that gets on a platform and says, if we want to get Black men to come to church, I've talked to my deacons, and all we have to do is, we got all this property, we just grow a bunch of weed, and that's going to get the Black men to church.
Yep.
That shows you where many so-called Black churches, I'm saying so-called because we know there's no such thing as a Black church, but we're talking about a Black church tradition, where they've landed. Yeah. They've landed into the gutter with the gutter culture.
Facts.
They're promoting that in the pulpit. And so where you're going with Monique, with your line of questioning, is we need to get scripture, and scripture alone has to be the foundation for the church, not these social engineering things that people are doing, not appealing to the culture, not saying I need a different gospel for this one group of people versus other group of people, not people showing up at national conventions and saying dumb stuff like, in order to win the millennials, we need to deal with, you know, young boys that paint their fingernails pink. We need to be able to have a gospel for them. That's garbage.
Yeah.
See, that's the problem. They've already adopted the culture of death and are just basically packaging it up in the pulpit. And so it's going to have to be a wholesale cleanup, going back to the Word of God. A lot of these jokers not even qualified to be pastors. Let's just talk.
Most of them are not.
They're not really pastors. They're not pastors, folks. But they're in the pulpit, and they're promoting everything but the Word of God.
Amen.
And so what it takes is people like ourselves. We're in Atlanta. I mean, our big thing is Atlanta must be stopped.
It must be stopped.
So guess what? You have Christians in these cities that need to call these folks out for what it is. We don't turn a blind eye to it. We need to say they need evangelism. The evangelism effort should be right at the front door of New Birth, Dream Center, World Changers. Pick your location where the gospel of Christ is proclaimed, because these folks are in utter darkness. A lot of, and it's interesting. I'm gonna do a review, maybe tomorrow. We'll see. Where you have women who, on one hand, will say, "God, I'm praying," will invoke the name of God, pray, and then every other word is a bunch of ratchetness, Where's that? What church, what environment do they feel comfortable in when they can thrive like that? A Dream Center, a World Changers, a New Birth, Missionary Baptist Church. These are the environments. So you hear the passion in my voice, because what I'm saying is these are not churches. These are just meeting centers that use Christianese language and basically infuse that with the culture of the world. And that's all it is, to affirm whatever sin, your favorite sin. That's all it is.
Right.
Yeah.
I want to
Yeah.
just acknowledge a few super chats. We have MC Recovery and Relapse sends a hippo character in tactical gear doing a tactical flanking maneuver hand gesture.
Why do they do that? Why do they do that?
Right. And then Willie Doc, our faithful friend Willie
In the
Doc, says,
building.
much love to the panel for dropping biblical bars tonight. So thank you so much to both of you guys for sending those super chats. I'm with Rick Caldwell on this, that the culture, if you have all of these so-called Black churches in all of these neighborhoods, you would think that the mindset and the worldview of their communities would be changing for the better, but they are not. They're changing for the worse, and it's because, like Rick said, those are not churches. Now G Love says the large majority of Black Christians disagree with Jamal Bryant, so I'd focus on him and not imply that all Black Christians support Jamal. He's called out for sleeping with all the women, right? But all you have churches like Jamal's church just rinsed and repeated in cities all over this country. They just don't have as a large of a platform that he does, but those come a dime a dozen. There are a lot of those. The faithful churches are very few and far in between. So
Right.
we answered somebody want to say something. I'm sorry.
Yeah, real quick, just like with Candace, Candace is a representation of what
Wait, Jason, real quick. John, at this point, you just making up stuff because we named 3 Black churches.
Yeah.
So where are you getting this idea that every Black church in Atlanta is misguided? If you cannot think in proper categories, perhaps you might want to step out the conversation. But you're getting on my nerves at this
I'm
point.
gonna take care of it.
Because
Just
you ain't
worry.
I can add some
listening.
clarity. I can add some clarity. So, Black church culture in general, like April just said, what we call the faithful Black churches are few and far between. They exist, but they are few and far between. What I have said this for almost 20 years. I'm about to get canceled, and John might just log off when I say this. Because I'm going to take it back. And I'm saying this as somebody who is born and raised in Birmingham, Alabama. I say this as somebody whose great-grandfather is on the wall at the Civil Rights Institute, right? The worst thing that ever happened to the Black church was the Civil Rights Movement.
Facts.
Because it changed the priorities of the church. It's no longer about righteousness and holiness. It is no longer about the gospel. It is no longer about discipleship and evangelism. It simply became a political entity to air the grievances of Black people, right? And when you do that over time and over decades, what we used to be no longer exists. That's why Big Mama was so different than this culture today. Because Big Mama was rooted in Jesus, right? In a church that was preaching the gospel. But today, it's either the social gospel of James Cone, the liberation gospel, or it's the health, wealth, and prosperity. It's your season, it's your time. Do big things, Atlanta gospel, I like to call it, right?
Hey, leave my Atlanta gospel alone.
Those Black churches you walk into today are either going to be liberation theology or word of faith, name and claim it theology. And that is just the truth of the matter. 90% of Black churches you walk into, you're going to find one of those 2 ideologies. And so, yeah, it is few and far between that you can find a solid Black church that is preaching Jesus, that is preaching the scriptures, and that isn't caught up in all of this mess. And so, like I said, it goes back to the 1960s and the Civil Rights Movement and it basically taking over the church and affecting the direction of the church and how we preach and what we teach. That's it.
I'll also add that yes, the majority of Black churches are on a misguided path, and we can see this statistically because what we see among Black people in the Black church is that they are leaving the Black church and they are not going to another church. They're not going to a multicultural church. When Black women are studied, they leave the Black church for African spiritualism.
Come on, they start worshiping their ancestors and
They,
burning sage.
they worshiping the ancestors, they burning sage. So yes, the majority of Black churches, unfortunately, are misguided. You have put it correctly. And that's not a stereotype, that's statistically proven. And so if you want more information, I would say you should do some research on it because the Black church has really gone astray. And that's not to prop up the white church, the white evangelical church, but we do have a problem in our community with Christianity and our churches.
Which is why we have churches on every corner, but our community is what it is. And that's what we're answering. Why is the community the way it is if we have so many churches on every corner? Where is the church? And the issue is the church no longer focuses on discipleship and evangelism. It no longer stands for the truth. It no longer preaches the gospel. It is simply a political entity to get you to vote every 4 years. That's it.
You got churches on the corner and pimps in the pulpit. And this is the problem. And like, this is where like I feel my passion is because we need evangelism in our community. But then you go back to the conversation that we were having earlier about, do you need to look a certain way? Do you have to have brown skin and Black skin in order to come in and to talk to somebody? The people with the brown and Black skin in the pulpit is really the ones doing the damage in the culture or in the community.
Some of the worst ones. What is it called? They preaching poison to their own people. Preaching pain, poison, and profiting. I can't remember. I think I had said it it was a real clever way I had put it, but I can't remember it right now. Atlanta since 82 cents $5 and says Atlanta must be stopped. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yes,
and then Jason Ledford sends a pair character lifting some weight saying, keep it up. Keep it up.
So-
Thank you for both of you guys. Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, I want to jump on to two things. Please understand, people, because I see a lot of this, not all churches, not all whatever, fill in the blank. People think, come on. Just think, come on, you're smarter than that. You are able to realize that when we are saying things like all, and when I say Atlanta must be stopped, fool, I live here. Come on, man, turn it on. Turn it on.
Yeah.
But I mean, challenge the gray matter. Now, back to the problem that I think we see a lot of. You mentioned before, we don't want solutions. We don't want solutions because most of the time, when you're talking to Black people, they want a solution that's outside of them. And when you start with a solution that says, I need to do, we need to do, so all the pointing is at me, they don't like that. They want to put out there.
Right.
It's the white man's fault. It's the red man's fault. It's this man's fault. It's that person's fault. They don't want to say, it's me. Like, it's my fault. My checkbook is imbalanced.
They want an Ibram X. Kendi message.
Absolutely.
All issues are out there. It's not in here.
There's nothing internal. We're fine. Our internal constitution is perfect. It's everybody else out there. And most of us, just if we're honest, we don't want solutions that require us to do something. But life is hard. Life is tough. Just like thinking, when somebody says the word Atlanta must be stopped, do I mean all Atlanta? Of course not. Because I turned on my gray matter, I put together some context and realized that they're talking about a vast majority, a large population of, but not everybody. That doesn't make sense. So anyway, that was just something I want to point out. DearWokeC@gmail.com if you want to complain about it. You know, management doesn't care.
You hear nothing but stereotypes because that's what you want to hear. It's easy. No one has time. We can't deal with the outliers. Okay. We're not in the margins. We're in the middle because you can't move a conversation forward if you try to isolate. Well, this one particular, like my church is not like that. I'm here in Atlanta. My church members know darn well I'm not talking about them. So they don't have to jump in the chat and be like, I'm not like that. Come on now, grow up. That's just silly. Stereotypes, you have to speak broadly so that you can make your point and move the conversation forward. Obviously, not every single church that exists without distinction fits these qualities. And no one is saying that it's not a slew of white churches that are preaching the same sort of garbage to their people. What color are we? Who we talking about? We talking about us.
Yeah,
Like, get out your feelings.
So he said Joel Osteen, Kenneth Copeland, Jesse Duplantis. We would all call all of them false teachers.
They all, no, those are heretics.
None of us in those
Who's
churches.
talking about Joel?
Ain't nobody talking about
these
Joel.
cats? Man, come on, man.
But if we were doing a live stream calling out them and talking about them, when nobody had a problem with it. You know,
But
everybody
the thing is, see, that's what I'm saying. You want a problem out there. You want a problem with Joel Osteen. I don't even know where his church is. I don't care about Jesse Duplantis. I don't care about Kenneth Copeland. Y'all ain't worried about your church that you went to that's sitting there propping up Fonnie Willis. You ain't worried about your church that's sitting there preaching out of the book of James Combs. But you're worried about Kenneth Copeland and his ebonic self. See, we just doing the most.
I don't even understand this statement. Do you want me to spout left-wing talking points? I'm not a liberal. I'm not a leftist. I'm a conservative.
Well, see,
my
these are
worldview starts with the scriptures. What do you want me to sound like?
This is an example of what we talk about a homonym.
This is just dumb.
These are not even arguments, right? It's just you basically are saying attacking the person and not addressing the argument. So if this is the problem with those tactics, and we mentioned this before, that's part of the playbook. The playbook is you don't deal with the arguments, you come after the person.
That's literally how we started
exactly what that comment was, right? And so that what we're trying to help everybody to see is that we have to do better than that. We actually have to make a sound, rational, cogent argument. And that's what we need to deal with.
Listen, I don't mean to be offensive. I can't deal with a whiny man. Like I grew up around enough whiny men. I can't. I have a very low tolerance when I'm looking at how families can move forward with the onslaught of the worldviews coming from the left. I need men who can stand on business. I can't deal with a whiny man who makes excuses for everything rather than saying, don't even worry about it. We got this because we got you. But if you're not saying whine, like how do we follow men in the community when all they do is whine and place the blame on everybody else? Like, I don't like what do you want me to do with that?
Hey, April, let's be real. Ain't nobody that's from the hood grew up in the hood thinking that the issue in my community, the issue right now is white supremacy and racism. Nobody thought that.
Nope.
You gotta grow up to go out to go to college and get educated to that foolishness.
Facts.
We know on the ground, in the streets, white supremacy and racism got nothing to do with our issues. Nothing.
Okay, so to deal with this one, someone goes, so it's okay to generalize the Black church because we're dealing with Black people, but we are talking about standing on the foundation of the gospel, which has no color in mind. Now, that part is true, but we don't even, when I talk about the Black church, I'm talking about the social construct of the Black church that comes with a different Jesus and a different gospel, a completely different message. If that's not the kind of church that you go to, then we're not talking about that. Like, I don't go to a church like that. Rick doesn't go to a church like that. Neither does Jason. I'm pretty sure Monique nor Kevin go to churches like this. But to sit here and act like those wolves in the camp are not causing a problem, not only are they maligning the gospel, but they are causing all sorts of social issues and perpetuating social issues that are a detriment to the community. So we're not supposed to say anything about it just because we look like them? Like I don't understand the argument. Help me if I'm missing something. Help me to understand. Now, if your issue is we just don't like you talking about black folks, then just say that, so I can say, well, I'm not gonna stop, and then at least we know where each side is coming from. I'm not gonna stop. So if that's the issue, let me know now, because we're gonna continue.
And it also just allows you to be honest instead of using the shell of straw man of I'm trying to prop up. I don't like you speaking in generalizations. Just say it. You just don't like the fact that we're pointing the finger at ourselves, at black people, at the highly melanated. You don't like that, and you want to point it to other people. Just tell the truth, shame the devil. It'll make you feel better if you just be honest. Because guess what? I'm gonna keep on saying it.
I was going to say something along the same lines. It's like, yes, I can talk about the larger black church. Again, we've already said that, this isn't 100% of every black church, but I am doing so, and we are doing so from a position of using the scripture as our plumb line. We can only have this conversation if the scriptures are our plumb line, is our standard of what is good, true, and beautiful. So when I lay out the standard of what's good, true, and beautiful, and this thing over here misses the mark, I can call that out. That's not something bad or wrong. It's like, hey, look, we need to come back into alignment. And today we are talking about the black church. Tomorrow I might be talking about something else. The standard is still going to be the gospel. It's still going to be the 66 books of scripture. It's not going to be, something that we just pull out of thin air.
Yeah, you know how the red pill community and the manosphere talk about how you can't tell women the truth because they don't want accountability. This is a part of black folks in general. We don't want the truth because we don't want accountability. We just want to do what we want to do, without the consequences of our actions, and we want to blame it on somebody else. We can't take the truth, and that's why they don't tell us the truth. They lie to us because the minute you tell us the truth, that we gonna kick you to the curb, and we're gonna bring in a dude that's gonna tell us how victim we are and all this kind of stuff. But the person that's saying you can do it, you can pick up, you need to stop doing this, you need to stop sleeping around, men, you need to stop making babies all over the place and not taking care of them. Y'all need to start raising y'all children together. Like when Bill Cosby was said, before he got in trouble for all that stuff, people got mad at him because he said, we'll spend $150 on some shoes, but we won't spend $150 on Hooked on Phonics, right? They got mad at him for saying that, but it's the truth. Our culture does not prioritize the things that lead to our success. Your child ain't going to the NBA.
He ain't going.
He ain't going to the NFL. Stop putting all your hopes and dreams in athletics. Make him get his lesson. Make him go to school. Make him treat women a certain way. Teach young women to respect themselves and stop shaking their behind and following Sexy Red and Cardi B and all this kind of stuff. They can sing all these lyrics, but they can't read a book.
Right. Now, Sister Joy, I've had plenty of smoke for Andy Stanley. I've done videos on Andy. Jason has a catalog
I got a whole week called Andy Stanley Week.
Here's the problem when people fail to listen.
They ain't listening.
This is a failure of actively listening to the conversation we're having. When it's one of these about-isms, right? What about this group over here? Well, guess what? We're not talking about that group over here. And because we're not talking about that, what they're employing are two things: a whataboutism fallacy and a negative inference fallacy. I mean, they're not actually paying attention to the conversation. We've already said, not all black churches, we also said that other churches with people of other melanin accounts don't get off the hook either, right? But the issue is who is having the influence in the culture?
Yes.
The black church. Yeah. So let's deal with the problem, right? Like let's make sure we're dealing with the right problem. And so the issue here is that the gospel has to be at the forefront. And regardless, pick your church. If they're not doing right, guess what? Same problem, same solution. The gospel has to be at the forefront. It's very simple, folks. I don't know why there are still comments where people are still trying to say, what about that group over here? What about that group over there? Guess what? They need the same gospel, folks.
Yeah, they do.
They need to come right saving understanding of the same Christ, right?
Amen.
But the
Let me
issue
real quick.
here, once again, is who are the talking heads within the Black community that are leveraging a false message, just like what Margaret Sanger was doing, right? Margaret Sanger, where'd she go? She went to Black pastors to propagate a message to destroy Black people. It's the same idea here, is that we're saying that we have people that are, instead of putting the first things first and promoting and preaching the word of God, they are promoting a message leading to the destruction of a community and generations, right? They're lying. Many of them are lying to Black women. When we were talking about Black women, they're lying to Black women, right? The whole Fonnie Willis situation. Many of us have covered that, right? Where you had, they invited us, Big Bethel, AME invited Fonnie Willis into the pulpit to lie to an entire congregation, and they're clapping and amening that foolishness, right? Why? Why is that happening? What's the atmosphere and the environment that's conducive for something like that? An environment that doesn't care about the word of God. That's an environment that creates that.
Hey,
I'm gonna jump in. I got you. Joy, the person, I just checked out your channel and I see that your page is ready. It is the harvest is ready for you to start dropping videos on Andy Stanley. And you can tag me, dearwokec@gmail.com, and I will come to your channel as you start dropping videos on Andy and the false teachings that he did in North Point, and I will give you kudos and shine, and I'll even promote your videos on that channel. So you have your marching orders. You seem to have a passion for calling out Andy, and I give you a big thumbs up for doing that. And I'll even add your videos, Joy, to the playlist that I have on my channel where I call out Andy Stanley on a regular basis. But in the meantime, in between time, please stick to the topic at hand. Please get yourself on task and follow along. Just get your little reading finger and follow along. Okay? Gotcha. Thank you so much. It is past my bedtime, y'all, and my producer is falling
He
asleep.
getting close to 50, y'all.
He
gonna be 50 in a couple of weeks. We ain't gonna be able to do nothing with him. Watch. Wait till
It don't
his
make no
birthday
sense. It doesn't
comes.
make sense. We're literally here talking about how Black people can fix Black problems, and you got the audacity to bring your big head over here talking about some stupid stuff that ain't nobody even talking about. Shut up. Stay on task. Lord have mercy. Turn my camera.
He got so bad.
It don't make no sense. You're not talking about that. You might as well be talking about pistachio ice cream. Joy, yourself. I might need y'all. Send me home. Good night.
Pistachio ice cream. That's his likeness.
Kevin, did you What'd you want to say, Kevin?
I don't know if I can say it now.
It's stupid, man.
Man, we have lost the show.
The show is lost. It's gone.
But no, I was going to the point of just kind of the things we buy into as a community. So when y'all were young, what did they tell you all the good men were?
At church?
They were either married or what?
Gay?
No. They're either married or in prison.
Mm-hmm.
No, I thought they were gay or in prison.
We actually had to believe that our good men were in prison. Like, that is the effect of we don't want to take accountability for nothing we do. It was the prison industrial complex. All our good men are in prison.
Bedtime. They didn't do nothing. Anybody got a Snicker bar for Jason? He need a Snicker. He hangry.
No, I'm glad that I'm glad that Kevin reached out to us to do a content like this, because we really want to exalt and help people see that Christ is so much better. And it's getting a little bit kind of like, okay, we've already addressed this. We've already addressed that we're speaking in generalizations. We already addressed that we're trying to
find solutions to Black problems and things that the highly melanated crowd can see. And we have an audience with people that are watching and checking out what we're doing. And you have the audacity. I ain't got nothing else to throw, so something's gonna go wrong in a minute. You got the audacity to come up in here talking about dumb stuff nobody's even talking about. And I'm like, if we were talking about that, you would be talking about something else. Like, stay on task. I mean, good gracious, is it that difficult?
RC said you need some magic mind. When I have my magic mind, don't nothing get me upset. I just
well, maybe that's what I need. I don't know.
I get you a case.
You know, no, it's still gonna be the truth, because you know what? You're being disingenuous. If you really care, okay, here it comes. Shots gonna be fired. DearWokesy@gmail.com. Catch me outside if you want to fight. If you really cared about Black people, you would not be trying to say, well, what about? There you go.
That part.
If you cared about Black folk, you would be concerned about Black folk. So when during the summer of love, y'all wanted us to be concerned about the house that was on fire, right? So watch this. The house is on fire. We are actually saying, hey, the house is on fire. We need to make a solution. You got the audacity to be telling me about the pool over on the other side of the community. Shut up. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
You got my child looking all scared. It don't make no sense. If you care about Black folks, you would not be bringing up, I'm Andy Stanley. Catch me outside.
Oh, Lord.
April, you the one that made me come over at the studio. I could have been at my house.
No,
you said, "Hey, we're at the studio." Yeah, we're at the studio.
Y'all.
Hey, and Jason, it's cash me outside, man. Cash me outside.
I'm Belinda's proper son, remember?
Oh, he
you
said
pay
catch?
attention, boy.
Did he say catch me outside?
I said catch me outside. I know it says catch me outside.
Oh, no, you said it wrong.
Like that.
You're not saying it right. It's catch me outside.
How about that?
How about that? And that is D-E-T. Dat.
Yes.
I guarantee you ain't gonna catch me outside.
Listen.
How about that?
See, Monique is on the West Coast, so she's fine. The rest of
I am on the West Coast, but I'm noticing that like the sun went down and I don't have all my lights on. Like soon, all y'all gonna see is like eyes and teeth because it's dark on the side.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm so sorry that you know, some people believe that, you know, they've been listening and all they're hearing are stereotypes. So my thing is then, okay. All right. I can't.
Here's the thing I said earlier, April. You gotta be willing to call a baby ugly. I said it earlier.
The baby's ugly.
It's a cute baby, and you know that baby's ugly. It's an ugly baby. I mean, I know it doesn't sound nice or politically correct to say that, but that's the fact. These are the facts. And so the problem is there's a kind of this visceral reaction to these types of statements. But I want people to check themselves. Like, is what they're saying true? Because if it's true, we need to deal with it.
Just deal with the truth. Man. Come on.
Yeah.
People can't handle the truth. They rather live the comfortable lie than the inconvenient truth. And the moment you start saying, hey, listen, like with my kids, you know, let's say, I'm not going to name which one, but let's say you got one that got a hygiene problem because they just don't see the need to bathe regularly. And you're like, listen, you stink. And then, you know, they're looking at you. Now they want to cry. And I'm like, you making me cry because I got to stand here and I have to experience your body odor. You stink. You need to go take a bath. This is not right. You know what I'm saying? So I feel the same way. Like, I'm tired of people trying to treat the Black community like we're this special needs class that you can't really say it because, you know, that might hurt somebody's feelings. Do you stink or not? If you stink, somebody should love you enough to tell you. And right now, we're at the bottom of every category. No, not all of us are, obviously, but enough of us are to where if somebody doesn't say it, I mean, so would you rather me love people in there, like just leave them to themselves? Because I can do that very well. But it's difficult when you see people going down a path that you're like, if you go down this path, it's not going to go well with you. You want to snatch some out of the fire. Now, if you just want us to quash the fire and not snatch some out, then I would say you're the unloving one. But to have a problem and say, well, y'all are talking in stereotypes. Well, you tell us how to do it then. Turn on your camera and tell us how should we
That part
say it?
right
Because
there.
clearly Candace ain't doing it right. We ain't doing it right. Larry Elder ain't doing it right. Bill Cosby ain't doing it right. Denzel ain't doing it right. Who's doing it right? That's what I want to know. Because it's no one is ever going to be able to say it exactly the way you want to hear it to where it's set well with your soul.
No, you know what, April? I'm gonna interject. They can go ahead and do that content. The content that you like to see, nobody's stopping you from doing it. Everybody who's got something flippant to say in the chat, I just happen to notice they don't have content on their channels. Nothing stopping you from turning on your phone and upload a video that you want to see, that you think would help solve the problem. Go ahead and do that content.
They ain't gonna do it because that's gonna require to put in some work.
Hey, let me address something in the chat from
That's
Africa.
you going to that civil rights conversation?
Yes.
Boy,
That's where I want to go. Go ahead, Kevin.
So, she,
Put them in time.
brought up
Put everything in
being
time.
critical of the civil rights movement without the context. The lie is that black people at the time were all behind the civil rights movement. There were plenty of black folks that were critical of the civil rights movement, mainly the older generation. The civil rights movement was a youth movement. The older generation did not agree with it. There was a man by the name of Joseph H. Jackson. He was the president of the National Baptist Convention, which is the largest Baptist convention, Black Baptist convention in the country. Dr. King was a part of that convention. Dr. King tried to take over the convention and failed. He didn't have the support. Joseph H. Jackson stayed the president. Dr. King left the denomination and started the Progressive National Baptist Association. Right? So even people within the largest black denomination weren't behind Dr. King that way. And this is what Joseph H. Jackson said. He said, you can't rile up people to hate the world and send them out in the streets and call it Christian. That was a man in the time of the civil rights movement being critical of it. So don't tell us that we can't be critical of the civil rights movement because of context. And also, we can also evaluate the outcomes of the actions of the people at that time. The effect it has on the black church today, it is what it is, regardless of how you feel about it. So,
sure.
So the latter part of the comment also said that we should be shaming ourselves because we're talking bad about the civil rights movement and when we don't even have close to what I'm assuming they're meaning white people have. This is the problem in the black community, is that we are always seeking to go get. We are always seeking to go get the sneakers, go get the latest car, go get all these things, but we're not really trying to save, educate our kids properly, or do the things that like get married, have our kids under wedlock and things like that. We have this curvaceous attitude that has us in this get mentality when we aren't taking care of the things that we do have. Maybe if we started taking care of the things that we do have, we might have more. Or maybe if you looked at black wealth in the United States, if we were our own nation, we'd be the 8th richest nation on the planet. We do have access to wealth. We just have a curvaceous heart posture a lot of times. And that's a real problem.
Oh, so you mean we're consumers? Is that what you're saying? We're consumers?
Well, you know.
And this is the thing. Most black people today don't live in the hood, and most black people today ain't poor. So we need to stop taking the plight of poor black people and acting as if that's the black narrative.
Correct.
Right? Because all y'all out here flossing, buying up everything. You got Gucci this and Gucci that. You know, the group that's most likely to have a luxury vehicle is black people. Right?
We
are the number one consumer.
We need a sound effect. Facts.
Yeah,
you know the evidence of what Kevin just said? Go to any Atlanta. I tell you what, I did some consulting at Atlanta Public Schools. Look at the parking lot. Look at the cars. Then go, I mean, like maybe somewhere else where it's not predominantly black. Look at the parking lot. Look at the cars. I can tell
you know what cars are
who's in the building based on the cars in the parking lot.
And you know what cars are and purses and shoes?
Yeah.
They are depreciating assets.
Yes.
They are going down in value as you own them. So no, you are not gaining wealth by driving a Benz.
Hey, I'm gonna need you to calm down on talking about the handbags, friend.
Let's
not get ugly on the podcast.
If you're not gonna complain about the wealth gap, then have your bags, right? If you complain about the wealth gap, but yet you making decisions that don't lead to wealth, we can't talk about it.
Listen, I get people that come in with Louis Vuittons and can't pay the little $39 processing fee to finance their furniture. I'm just trying to understand how you got a Louis, like a whole Louis, and you ain't got $39 in the bank. Okay. See, I'm not supposed to say that. Let me acknowledge Brother Derek Perry said no one wants to hear about responsibility. That they get righteously indignant if you dare say it starts here. It starts with you individually, your family. Get your house in order. They don't want to hear that. Then he also said that which is our problem. It is just like the gospel. You don't want to take responsibility for our own sin on a personal level, nor do we want to hear about it on a group level. Brother Derek, I mean, I ain't mad at you, homie.
Let him cook.
He cooking. Got some hot grits on the stove. He about to throw up on you.
Ooh, man,
yeah. Okay, I got you. So listen, we should wrap it up because it's 11 o'clock, and we've been going for 3 hours, and I don't even be on my own live streams for 3 hours like this.
Yeah, you acting like
this has
Chad
been
doing
fun.
Extra innings.
So let's do that. Yeah, whatever. In 60 seconds, I need each of you to answer. Is there a black card that is worth fighting for?
No. No. Just no.
No. That was easy. That was easy. No.
Because your black card is always going to require that you exchange it at some point for your Christian card. At some point, that black card that bill is always going to come due, and the payment is always going to be some part of your Christian identity. So no.
Yeah, because we all have it, right? Like, I'm from the hood. I mean, I'm from Birmingham, Alabama. I grew up learning about the civil rights movement. I grew up with 3 Black History programs a year at school, at church. You went to somebody else's church and had one, right? You're gonna say the speech, using the play, right? You're gonna do the march in Selma. I got family in Selma. Every other year, our family reunion was in Selma. Like, I grew up. I'm from the Black church. I grew up in the blackest black context you can think of, and yet I will still get dismissed because I don't share the groupthink of what has been identified, what it means to be Black. So no, I'm not holding that.
I got you. What about you, Jason?
No. Because I don't want to generalize it too much. I want too many people saying I'm stereotyping. No. No, there's not. No, I'm Christian, and I just happen to be highly melanated. God bless me with a lot of melanin, Christian. So my Christian card is in Christ. So I'm good.
Amen.
You sure you want to end? Because there sure is a good comment right now.
Oh, I can't keep up.
He said, no objectivity here, just right-wing talking points and fear of dissenting dialogue. We's out here eating chicken and shucking and jiving and buying tennis shoes.
We've dealt with that silliness tonight already. I mean, we
screenshot that one for me. Screenshot that one for me.
Addressed that 100 times over.
Screenshot that for dusty comments for me if you don't mind.
Man, it's crazy how you can just dismiss something as a right-wing talking point without actually dealing with the substance of the argument.
But
I'm sorry. We talked about that 3 hours ago.
This is the reason why we talked about why someone like a Candace Owens, what it's needed. I mean, you can't think outside the box,
right?
Once you go outside the box, you're not your idea is not even being looked at. It's like you are put into a category.
Yep.
And no questions. You're not allowed to ask questions. You're not allowed to inspect. No interrogation needed. It is what it is. No, friends, this is dangerous way of dealing with life. I mean, I would challenge somebody. How do you get through life like that?
They don't. They miserable. They don't have no joy. You can't have joy with this on your mind and your heart darkened like this all the time. Just you can't. No, they ain't got no joy. That's why they over here raising havoc.
Right. Go to your place and be unjoyful. There you go. Problem solved.
So you answered. So the question was, is there a black card that's worth fighting for? Y'all already know my answer. Absolutely not. My life, my identity is hidden in Christ. When you are a filthy, wretched sinner and God bestows his grace and loving kindness on you to give you a new heart and grant you repentance, like you just can't get consumed and caught up in this existential reality known as skin. Because at the end of the day, it has no eternal value for me. And I can't cling to the gospel as tight as I do if I also wanted to cling on to this blackness. And so the fact that those who do the will of my Father are my brothers and sisters, and they come in all ethnicities, they come from all parts of the world. That's what the gospel does. It levels that playing field. The dividing wall of hostility is torn down. Christ bore that in his body. That's all I needed. That was the most freeing message for me. And so even if that message came to my ancestors, and I can't prove this, but even if that message came to my ancestors by way of being colonized, praise be to God for his sovereignty, the method, the message, all of it, I'm thankful for it. And I stand clothed in his righteousness. My life is hidden in him. So I don't need no black card. You can keep it because that thing ain't got but a low balance anyway.
And I think how we should end it. That's it.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
I love you guys. We got to do this again.
Absolutely.
I love
All
it.
right. Well, I'm about to play the intro. Until next time, you guys, grace and peace.